Meeting order, either all the officials listed here. What we will do is we will get started with the public hearing, very quickly here. And I will turn this over to Mike Bergran, our village attorney.
Can everyone hear me? Yes, okay. I talked to the staff of my property administrator and clerk, and for the benefit of the village board and the public present, we thought it was worthwhile for me to just speak briefly before the hearing starts tonight, to talk to you about the process that we're going to go through. So we'll start with Julie Esch, our Director of Public Works, will present her report. And then we will open the board will open the public hearing, and everyone will get a chance to speak. There's no issue with that. For economies of scale, ideally, if you hear someone make the same comments that you wanted to make, feel free to indicate that you agree with the last person, but everyone will get a chance to speak. I'm quite old. And I was around here for the first hearing back in 2010. I know that there are strong feelings. This is an impassioned topic. We're talking about the dam. We're talking about the Milwaukee River. I get that. This is where I usually unveil my famous grocery store speech, where I talk about the fact that we live in Grafton. It's a small community. Everybody here, trust me when I say this, everyone here wants what's in the best interest for the village of Grafton, regardless of which side of the debate you sit on. It's possible, it's very highly likely, in fact, that tomorrow or the next day or next week, we're going to see each other at the grocery store. And let's not say something tonight, please. Let's not say something tonight that we regret when we run into each other at the grocery store, right? We're Grafton. We believe in respectful speech. Please, folks, no heckling. Thank you. Right there. No cat calling. Please keep the clapping to a minimum. And we're all going to get a chance to speak and listen to everyone's comments tonight, okay? The last thing I want to say, and maybe this is as much for the village board's benefit as it is for the public. This afternoon, the village did receive a petition for direct legislation under section 9.20 of the state statutes. That's a petition that's signed by has to be signed by a number of electors in the village, asking the village board to pass the fullest ordinance or refer the ordinance to the next general election or spring election for consideration by the public. That I want everyone to know the village has received that petition. The clerk has 15 days under the statute to analyze the petition for sufficiency. Once the petition is found to be sufficient, it will be referred to the village board, and the matter will move forward. Nothing tonight. The public hearing tonight is going to go forward. Nothing with the public hearing will run afoul of that petition as I read it. If we get past that point, we'll cross that bridge if you're moving. I just want everyone, the public and the village board, to know the village has received that petition. We are aware of it. We are. So thank you. Thanks everybody for coming out. This is awesome. I mean, this is the best attended meeting we had this year. And so, Mr. President, I'll turn it back to you to open a public hearing, or I think call it Julie.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Well, certainly, one of the things that we know is that either we really care about the dam or we don't. And it's really nice to see this type of a turnout to have a public discussion. It's been really important for us 60 days ago when we said we wanted to get a lot of facts We want to hear from as many people as we can before we make a decision. And I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight and those of you who are going to speak. So again, congratulations, Ralph, and give yourself a hand because you guys are doing with us from both sides. The way we're going to do this tonight is we're going to do the public hearing. We want to hear from everybody. There's no time limit, as Mike said. Speak as long as you want. We're going to be here. And what we will do though is we get out over an hour and a half. That's about as much as our bladders can take. So we'll probably take a quick 5 or 10 minute break, come back, and we'll keep doing this as long as you guys want to speak. First thing we're going to hear is we're going to hear from our Director of Public Works, Julie Esch. We're very fortunate to have Julie here, because Julie has been through this before in her previous position. Also she's done a great job of getting as much information as we have requested so that we can come up with the best decision for the whole of the building. Without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Julie. Also to let you know, after this public hearing is closed, after you're done speaking, we're going to turn it over to the trustees who can express some of their thoughts and points on this. And then we will end the public hearing and we'll move on to our regular business meeting. So without further delay, Julie Esch, please take the microphone.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. To touch on Dan and my past life working for Milwaukee County, we went through something similar with us from Dan and familiar with that along the Milwaukee River. Not the same exact situation, but a lot of the same concerns, passion about the recreation and the health on the river. So a lot of what I learned from there, I used to learn more about the staff and the problem work. So as I move forward, I just wanted to talk a little bit, sorry about a lot of the words here, but how we got here. So on May 2nd, May 2nd, yes, the Grafton Police Department Saturday morning called my staff to say that the dam had gone all the way down to its lowest position. And so one of my staff went out and tried to move the hydraulic cylinder, get it into place. And he couldn't get up very far and it kept sliding backwards. So I was then called to be notified about the situation. And I immediately got on the phone with, I found a marine contractor in the state that works on dams. I have to also say, I was in this position, I think, 4 months when this happened. So I was, I called somebody quickly, you come and meet us as soon as possible in the dam, which was that Monday, to assess what happened. And so after working with this contractor, they had a systems engineer some that they brought on board. We went with my staff, which was a having and facilities staffers, and we went through a number of procedures where it was determined that the packing the hydraulic cylinder, meaning the seal had broken, and so hydraulic fluid that is pressurized leaking. And that's at a minimum what had occurred with hydraulic cylinder, therefore needed to be at least fixed and not replaced. So the other element, I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. I think to try to get a visual, I think it's helpful to have a visual on the hydraulic arm and then the cross gate itself. To get it into place, as you see there are the braces that were built back specifically for this dam in case by the valley. And then the picture to the right is where the eyes are, the 4 eyes, because of what I call that upstream side of it. That cables would then be put onto to pull it back, so the braces could be installed. People pull one, and then where you see the above it for the arm in the upper right, there would have to be something fashioned that hold those cables back, get them stabilized in place, anchored in place, so that the braces could be moved. below, and then what would happen would be the hydraulic arm would be unpinned from the gate, repair, replace, hook back in, and then, we could function as it happened. So I just wanted to give that, I hope that's helpful, there are a lot of pieces, parts, stamps, gates. So once I then obtained, two quotes from the same contractor. Again, one was to do all the work I just mentioned to get it into place, but also then either replace the cylinder or repair, depending on what was found on site at that point. It was deemed at that point, like it still may be considered an emergency repair. And so that's why I went directly to the village board to seek their, approval and appropriation for the funding. To repair the dam. So that's how we got here, and then of course the goal was to get some more information back on very high options with repairing removal, it wasn't various options. And so that's what the report is that I have before you. Sure that okay. Just look forward. So you could go all the way to the last slide, please. And so today, what is before the board is essentially three options, which of course would be to repair the gate immediately, go out for bids, to do that. Now that we feel sort of past an emergency obviously situation. Potentially refer to the Board of Public Works, that's an option as well, with direction, and further consideration, informational needs, et cetera, and then to bring back to the village board with a recommendation possibly. Or just to provide DPW staff with direction about. So that's kind of at the end of the day, what the actually would be important. So I'll go through the report that I put together, and I just want to say, preface it a little bit by these are considerations that, from the DNR, whatever we decide to do, the board, I should say, excuse me, decides to do, we need to consider, on the DNR side, what, many of you, thank you very much for your emails, a lot of really good questions, quite frankly, I can't answer at this point, the agencies like the DNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service are not going to. I actually have not gotten feedback from the DNR because they believe that they're waiting for a decision to be paid first before they weigh in on what they need to see. Some of these other considerations, but as much as possible, I try to answer them in this report, or at least things that the report needs to think about. Starting with the dam gate repair, and again, some of these costs are, I know, some of them are very pricey. But in addition to cylinder replacement repair, one of the things that we've learned in DPW since this occurred is there's no only a manual backup system, which is what I described to you before. Having to have a gate pulled up one direction, braces slid under. There's no automatic secondary system in case of a crime with you. So it can look like two hydraulic cylinders. There are probably a number of different options. They vary in costs, but at a minimum, my recommendation here, because we go through the process and spend money to keep us afloat, we would want to have that backup system so this doesn't happen. And then one of the things too, and this something that started here and showing the ambient controls. One thing that is nice to have would be an automatic feed control system. Right now, we lower and recently somebody tells us they see something like flooding in the walkway or got staff that goes out, takes a look and more from their history of being there, people have been here a long time. But one of the things is, so maybe consider doing something where there's a more real-time control information, lowering for raising them, depending on water levels, water flow, that water flow does take its toll on the heating itself and the hydro, so. Then related to, ongoing one-time expenses, one of the things that I am going through the budget for bridges and dams is how it's titled in my budget. Bridges inspections have been budgeted for, at a regular pace. I do have to make the clarification, I put in here that this is a high hazard dam. That's incorrect, it's a significant hazard dam. It changes the cadence of the, in two things. And, that I found is it changes the cadence of inspections instead of having, these done every 2 years, they have to be done every 3 to 4. And then from a liability perspective, it doesn't actually change anything in terms of liability insurance for the village of Grafton. I did, reach out to our insurer, and we are fully insured for this. We actually don't even get any extra money at this point. So there's a rider or addition to the policy, to insure. But, then, so going forward, there have been over the years, of course, in addition to inspections, concrete repair along the way, scour surveys, and most recently, we had an inspection of the dam. And there's a list of different things, mostly concrete repair related, that will have to be monitored, and everything around, and probably replaced in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't have an estimate for these. I did ask the dam inspection engineer for some estimates, and it's, I didn't really get anything back. I think it's to be determined based on, how they move over time, all these change, but they're being monitored. And of course, other things to consider, regardless of, repairing or removing the dam, environmental impacts. One thing that, again, this is where having input from the DNR, there's different input depending on trying to DNR, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I've read things from previous reports, not anything current. As to fish passage, there were some disagreements about fish passage and, the fact that, sturgeon getting upstream, that, the dam being a barrier or not being a barrier. These are things that would definitely need to be studied more and considered more, if dam removal to occur. And of course, there are recreational impacts, and there's the mill pond, the concern about losing the mill pond that the communities used to have had for all of these years. There's also a thing about, an issue or concern about portaging right now with the dam there to get out of portage, over Bridge Street and down, by the old sheriff. So so these are things again to be considered. There's just not necessarily a best or a right or wrong, and so it's all elements like property values that's been brought up. There have not been. I look for studies. The most likely study, definitive study was from like 2015, and it was it was amended, especially since COVID and whatnot. But so further review would be needed of what that could look like. And particularly experience, obviously, I wasn't able to find anything that definitively said, yes, you would lose property value or not in my research. And then of course, I point out some grant opportunities for both options or whatever option. There's even somewhere in the middle of options of modifying the dam as it is today without taking it out completely. I didn't really want to get into that too much because you can have so many iterations of that. I think that that's something that could be studied depending on what decision is made by the village board. Let's see here. I think I've gone through most of them without getting into too much detail, but at this point, unless there's something else, maybe it's a good time to find out. Oh, At this point, I've gone through some of the highlights, I feel on the highlights of the report, and maybe we can turn over to public testimony.
All right, so we're gonna open up for questions. That fair enough? Okay, so what we'll do here is in the order of signature here, we'll call people up to the microphone. Please give your name and place of residence, and we'll go from there. So first person we call to the microphone is Julia Lee. Shane, if you can be next in queue, we appreciate it. Shane Lee.
Hello, my name is Julia Lee and I live at 1609 South Pine Street. We moved to Grafton 4 years ago and have loved living in this beautiful community. The motto of our village is quality of life naturally, and we have a great opportunity to greatly improve the natural quality of our beloved river. Dams are one of the most harmful things humans can do to a river. It disrupts the natural flow of water, makes it more difficult for wildlife to navigate, and degrades the quality of our watershed. As a librarian, I have to point out that most of the arguments I've heard in favor of fixing the dam are based on some misinformation and personal aesthetics. The signs I've seen around town highlight this. They say fix the gate and restore our lake. But there is no lake. It's the Milwaukee River, and the fact that it resembles a lake at all underscores the real harm being done to the river. The dam is expensive and actively harming our river. Why continue to pay for something that is not improving our community? I implore you to think beyond personal preference and think of the big ecological picture and the many other animals who rely on our beautiful river. Restoring the river to its natural state will be better for our community, and it is the right thing to do. Please vote to remove the dam. Thank you.
Thank you. Shane to the microphone, Maureen, Samadli, if I got that wrong, I'm sorry, if you could be in the queue, please appreciate it.
First of all, thank you so much for giving everybody the opportunity to speak and hear us out, because I do feel that it's really important to get everybody's opinions on this. I wish I would have better researched and could give more facts. All I can give right now are opinions and thoughts on this matter. Thank you very much to Julia for giving that background so I could be a little bit more informed when I came up here to speak with you. I'm the other half of the we that Julia mentioned moving to Grafton, so 1609 South Pine Street. Some people might know us as the chicken house. So absolutely, I agree with what Julia said in that the dam really restricts the water from doing what it wants to do. And Julia and I were lucky enough to go to New Orleans and take a swamp and bayou tour. And our guide was telling us about the water flows. And there were several major projects done by the Army Corps of Engineers. And there was only one project where they really let the local municipalities become involved in the decision making. And they did a lot of research and had a lot of impact on where the water flows and where it came from. And of those major projects, the one where they involved the municipalities, that's the only one that is currently active and still standing. The rest of them failed and were wiped out during Hurricane Katrina. And it makes total sense. If you let the water go where it wants to go, you're not restricting it, and the impact is a lot less when you have changes in water level. Because when it's spread over a large area, it takes a lot more water to change the water level by a significant amount. So for longevity's sake and for what appears to be more drastic changes in water levels coming as we get larger rains and more violent storms, I think it makes more sense to keep the river open, remove the dam. It makes it easier for fish to get out of the river. And it is less cost, down the long road, you know, it's maintenance costs for a dam and repair costs. And we already had hydrophilic fluid leaking into the water. I know that's not good for the water. So I think for the sake of the health of the river and everywhere around it, and keeping things as steady as possible, letting the water do what it wants to do and go where it wants to go, seems like the better option. So I would ask you to please consider removing the dams. Thank you.
Thank you. Shane, I just want to clarify, your place of residence is 1609 South Pine Street.
That's correct.
Correct. And anybody, please come to the microphone, name and address, start, please. Thank you very much. Maureen, you would please step to the mic, and Don, you're soon to follow. Thank you.
My name is Maureen Samoji, my address is 916 Vista Lane. And, I got a different profile. We moved here from Ohio 6 years ago. So this area is still pretty new to me and my husband. But, we fell in love with Grafton because, it reminded us so much of our home back in Ohio. And the one thing that was just drew me was, the water. And we have a similar thing in Anderson, Ohio. We were surrounded by the water. And so my husband loves to fish. And he has caught so many fish, bluegill and small bass. And then, of course, the dam broke and then just became like a mud thing. That's one part of it that I like to keep it down. But another is, the most important for me is I'm really big on historic. And, you know, the dam was built many, many, many years ago. Look how long it lasted. And I know it's broken now, but just the historical part and what the dam did for Grafton when it was put in is just, I can't describe it, but I have such a love for Amherst because of the historical part of it. And as far as the cost, you know, I haven't really heard anything about the numbers. And so I really can't say anything about that because I don't really know. There's still a lot of information out there that we don't know, but I do know that I love the way it was when we moved here, and I know me and my husband just really enjoyed it, but I would like to have it fixed. So, yeah, that's my opinion. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Don? Next up, after Don, is Linda Dean.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Been fishing the Great Lakes for about 74 years. And came over here to Grafton, and I've been having a great time, and it's a beautiful little city. And the reason why I had a great fishing spot at one time, and then when the dam bellied up, it just kind of like stopped everything. And now I don't, I know I can go to different places to fish, but this is ideal, you know, and I'd love to have the dam go back into operation again. But the one question I guess, let's say if you take the dam out, now you open it up, now the water level definitely is gonna drop farther, am I right? Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, do you want to address that question to Julie?
Would that drop farther than it is right now? Since like where the dam is, it trickles down into there, but now you take it all out, now the water level definitely has to drop down farther. Now this is gonna make our river smaller. Am I right?
You're correct, it will drop down further, and you're seeing it, you know, right now, We drop down, we'll drop down further, it's, I don't know by how many feet, there's a timber crib behind it, the original timber crib copper dam, and then there's the original, stone and 4 foot front, drop behind it as well, so it's hard to say, you are correct.
I just had a question on it. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your thumbs up. Great. Next in, Linda, before you start, next up is Corey Sebastio. Linda, please go ahead.
I'm Linda Dean, 1563 Cherokee Street. My husband and I have lived in Grafton for 34 years. So we were through the dam discussion back at 10. I guess my feeling on the dam is that I'm a scientist, right? And so I kind of live by form follows function. The function of the dam was never to create a mill pond. Right, the dam had a purpose, dam had a function, which is no longer the case. So it's frustrating that we continue to spend money year after year to support something that is not meeting the function that it was intended for. Just two other observations I've had is I've seen and heard a lot of people fondly talking about ice skating at Betts Park. In the last winter, that the pond, or the mill pond could be safely opened for ice skating for less than 2 weeks. And that's not an anomaly, right? Whether that's because of climate change or if that's because of increasing safety, we just don't have 2 to 3 months of skating anymore. Darn. The other thing I've noticed, which was really a pleasant surprise, is the lack of geese at Betts Park. By getting rid of that mill pond, the geese have not taken over our park this year. So it's really great, you know. It's great to be able to enjoy the park and not have, the geese droppings to do. So removing the dam is not going to take away water from Grafton. We will still have the river, we'll have a healthy river that supports wildlife.
Corey Sebastio, Sue Holden on Destiny. Well, copy. Or, place it on, Katie Olson, did we see a copy of, Mr. Sebastio's, speech? I thought I saw it today.
Yes,
Do we need a copy?
I have forwarded it to the village board.
Thank you. You can leave it here, we'll take it as evidence.
Very good. My name is Corey Sebastio. I live at 1622 16th Avenue, Grafton. And before I get into what I was going to talk about here, I'm going to talk about a few things that I've seen so far. Julie, with your report, you didn't include any of the numbers that were previously published. So for the folks here that haven't seen that, they don't really have an idea of what all that means, like your secondary redundant system for $500,000. That's completely unnecessary. What we have now lasted for 14 years. Hook a chain on it, tie it to the wall, and if it goes down, you grab the chain and hook it to a lift and pull out. Doesn't make very much sense. And then for this slide that's up here now, I think the middle bullet point is the only direction. The public works should be driving this whole thing. Let me continue. So over 30 years ago, I achieved my certification in industrial hydraulic mechanic from the International Fluid Power Society. I have consistently worked in this industry ever since. And today I'm submitting an unsolicited proposal to repair the gate at the Bridge Street Dam. The reason I'm submitting this proposal is because it seems the village is not interested in a timely resolution. It's also apparent that the village is not being transparent with their intentions. I know that there are no further requests for quote for the repair at this time, and I suspect no plans in the near future. I also know that the village is against investigating removal of the dam, which you guys have admitted to today. Additionally, I know the village is not interested in the simple fixes. Our requests to do our own troubleshooting have been denied. The dam worked 2 days prior to the failure. What happened in those 2 days? How embarrassing would this be if all it needed was a little more oil? We've been told that J.M. Brennan, a mechanical contractor with no specific expertise in hydraulics, and hired a hydraulic technician to help them with their troubleshooting. I was also told there was a village employee present, which was confirmed today, contrary to what I said in here because I wrote this 2 weeks ago. They spent 2 days troubleshooting and they only have an estimate as to what happened. Can you tell me exactly which seals failed and how it was determined that they failed? Do you have the answer to that? Okay, I can also say that there is no physical evidence that any oil leaked out of that cylinder into the river.
$180,000, that's the.
Can,
Can we please refrain from commenting?
I'm sorry.
excuse me, please, if you have a comment to make, please sign up to speak. Please do not interrupt the proceedings. We just ask- Sir, can we just please not interrupt, let these folks speak? And if you want to come up and speak, we'd enjoy you to come up and sign and speak. Fair enough? Thank you. Please, I'm sorry, Corey, that we interrupted you, but could you please continue?
Thank you. Okay, so all there is an estimate of that. We don't really know for sure. If I were allowed to troubleshoot for free, I would have a definitive cause of failure and plan for action within a few hours. I asked for all documentation related to troubleshooting and open records request. The information was speculative. There was no information as to how much we paid for such troubleshooting. I speculated it didn't happen as described. So now I'm asking you publicly, may I do my own troubleshooting on the hydraulic system?
What was the question?
Am I gonna get an answer?
I'm sorry?
Was I gonna get an answer?
Apparently doesn't understand the question.
Please stop.
Yeah, you agree, he wants question.
Oh, the question is. I'm asking you publicly, may I do my own troubleshooting on the hydraulic system?
Okay, you know what, I'm not opposed to that, but I think that we need to talk this through. So, I mean, I don't think we're opposed, but, again,
The action items coming up later.
yeah, we probably need to run this through Public Works. Am I correct with that, Tim?
I just think you should wait till after the public hearing, if you want to have a discussion.
That's fine, thank you, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna try not to comment on these, we just want you to speak, but, well, we'll see what we can do, okay, fair enough?
Okay. Furthermore, at a recent public Public Works meeting, which goes to my point before about the middle bullet. When the Public Works members asked why they were kept in the dark on. They feel foolish sitting there uninformed. They should be the one driving this. I'm really disappointed with the whole way this process went. It ended up causing a rift between all of us village, people with village drafting. As you see from my proposal, it's about a third of your original proposal. I will tell you that you can save even more had you done this yourself. It is within my belief that the village of Grafton already has the resources with its own maintenance department and the help of the fire department. You can get this done, and you'll see that when you read my proposal. It's really not that complicated. And yeah, you guys should be able to complete our own. And that's all for my report. Now I want to, reference to the last speaker of the history of that dam. Without the original Timber Creek Dam, Grafton wouldn't exist as it does today. It would have never developed as a manufacturing hub and brought people in to live here. It would have been agricultural then. So you take away the dam, you take away Grafton's identity. And if you want to give Grafton a new identity, you better have a really good plan of what it's going to look like and how much it's going to cost to get to that idea before you make any decisions on taking anything out. I'm telling you, that dam, the mill pond, is Grafton. Thank you.
Steve Holtman, your house, Ben Glatzel. Steve, name and address, please.
My name is Steve Holtzman. I live at 1327 North Street in the village. Our property is along the north end of the mill pond. It's our primary view to the east. Prior to the gate flood element, there was anywhere from 6 inches to 2 feet of water sitting on top of 4 to 7 feet of silt. In the summer, the water was hot and full of algae, along with lily pads and duckweed. The only fish I observed in that shallow water were carp, or spray, to become their food. When the gate failed, my initial reaction was concerned that we had lost our water view, and we wouldn't be able to see as many species of waterfowl as we had in prior years. Our yard has a bird list of 162 species currently. I also read that the dam was a barrier to sea lamprey, so the last thing I wanted was that barrier to be removed. I was also concerned in early June when all I saw was mud, and I didn't know what was going to come in. Was it going to be more buckthorn for me to control? I was happily surprised that within a couple of months, I now have a sedge wetland, a red root flat sedge, a native sedge, through that entire previous mud flat. And I noticed that a lot of the mud flats along the river are also regrowing up in vegetation, most of it native. So I had all these concerns and I decided to research a little bit further. Came to understand a few things. Let's start with history. For 11,000, let's say 11,800 years, the Milwaukee River has run free as a river. For the last 200 years, it was dammed as an impoundment. So if we go by history, I think history says the river should be a natural flowing river. I was able to talk to Mr. Rohde from the Fish and Wildlife Service today after I contacted you about if you had contacted him. He was traveling in another direction. I wanted to ask him specifically about lamprey. And he said that they're actually this week, some of his staff are going to be going north of Grafton and looking at habitat. And if it's interesting, there's native lamprey also. So if they find native lamprey in there, then that says that stretch of river is hospitable to sea lamprey also. So that would be a factor that would be concerned in terms of how important is the dam for sea lamprey incursion of river. He said sometime Wednesday to do that. He also told me that sea lamprey have never been recorded from Milwaukee River at all. They've been recorded up north in Door County and then in Michigan. The habitat seems to be better in Michigan, on the Michigan side of Lake Michigan substrate. So I think that is still, sort of out there to explore. This dam is an effective barrier to sea lamprey. There's no question that the dam creates an impoundment, not only that many residents have come to love over the years. These residents want to protect their view of the impoundment rather than some future unknown view of a natural flowing river. The dam has damaged the ecological health of the river by increasing temperature, creating algal blooms, and reduction of available oxygen for aquatic life. It traps sediments leading to a substrate less hospitable for native fish. The dam is buried as salmon and sturgeon, which, according to a local fish biologist I talked to recently, could, in the future, colonize spawning habitat upstream if it was removed. Dam removals have been done successfully along the Milwaukee River with extensive grants from county, state, and federal governments. If history is our guide, the cost in the village should be minimal. Grants for dam repair and continued maintenance, however, are unlikely, and these costs will be borne by the taxpayers of the village. And that goes to the point that the river is not Grafton's. The river is owned by the state of Wisconsin. And people all across the state of Wisconsin have a vested interest in the health of that river. That's why state grants and federal grants are available for things that improve the health of the river. Whereas grants to protect a dam are kind of very, very minimal and they're mostly related to safety. If you want a grant to repair your dam because your townspeople like the look of it, that's gonna probably be paid for by the county, by the village, sorry. Dam removal could involve increased but different recreational opportunities in the village. One of the people who probably speak tonight talked about how recreation has been ruined in the Milwaukee River this summer. And then the next day, the entire Veterans Park was full of people enjoying music. And I've seen several kayaks. I can watch from my house. I can watch kayaks going on the river. I've seen fishermen, young people walking up the river. Now they can walk through the park along that edge of that walk, along the edge of the new marsh and fish in the river. So all that recreation is still happening. It just looks a little different. The kayak launch and boat launch could be easily extended out if there's a narrow river. Right now, I mean, for a long time, last month or so, I think all we needed was 10 extra feet and ramp for the kayak launch to be usable. That, you know, if this drags on longer, I would encourage the Parks Department to maybe look into getting a couple of pieces to extend it just a little further. That's all it really needs. And the boat launch that's on the east side of the river, you know, I wouldn't do anything with that. Of course, right now, it's up in the air, but if there is a narrow river, a boat launch could be run. Dam removal could involve the restoration of existing rock beds, the waterfall that was mentioned earlier, small islands and other river features that may be just as attractive to residents and visitors as the impoundments to others. It's, you know, aesthetics are in the eye of the beholder. Some people like to just see flat water and big expanse of flat water. Some people are bored by that and want to see moving water, want to see the birds that might be roosting in some of these islands and just a different look. So aesthetics are in the eye of the beholder. Voting to pursue options like removal requires courage. The courage to resist the loudest voices, favor of future voices. A healthy river is the ending in here. Will our grandchildren and great-grandchildren be able to wade in the river and explore the aquatic life that returns? Will we have increased fishing opportunities for salmon, smallmouth, and pike? We no longer allow our factories to dump their waste in the river, and we don't dump our used motor oil down the sewer. I personally think we are getting better at protecting our shared natural resources. We have done this sometimes through actions that many people at the time didn't support or didn't understand. We made hard choices in favor of a better future. Let's start doing that again. I encourage our neighbors to have an open mind and consider the future. And I encourage our trustees to vote to explore dam.
Ben Watson, and Carol Rosecross is on deck now. Hayden, address please, Ben.
Ben Glatzel, 2256 North Green Bay Road, Grafton. I'm in the township of Grafton, not the village. I appreciate you allowing me to come in here. I have no political say in this matter and nothing else behind it other than where we live. I'm speaking on behalf of my neighbors as well. We could watch the water during a good rainfall go up anywhere from 8 to 9 feet in a matter of 24 hours. Rest over the bank every once in a while, we're all watching, everybody's concerned about it. My neighbors, I know ones to the north of me, they'll run 4 to 6 sump pumps at a time and keep their basement, it's a short basement, keep it empty of water. I hooked up my own little drainage system that I can run out of my house and run a sump pump to keep the crawl space from filling up, getting the rafters. Now, it's pretty rare because when the water does crest over the top, we end up looking like we're all sitting on little islands. And then it'll subside. It takes a couple days for it to do that. We all live with that, but we live with that because Grafton has a dam. It plugs that river. And that to me is kind of an issue. I've been living there and my family has been living there with a history of like 75 years now. So we know what we're talking about with this. We see it up and down. A lot of it has to do with the dam in Grafton. Now, if the dam were maintained and it was made and designed, and they do make dams that are designed to open up, water is overflowing, but I'm sure that when your people in the DPW are going out and looking at issues throughout the city and seeing we need to do this or that or the other thing, they go to the north and see what the people are doing with dealing with up there. So we have We have a lot at stake in this issue. And I feel for the people that looked at that Mill Pond for years. I know what that would be like. That must be tough. But I also was thinking the other day that, you know, last year there was an issue similar to this in Cedarburg. People were complaining about some guy that wanted to build a ski lake. So he wanted to divert Cedar Creek. Not an issue here, obviously. Now, whether he ended up doing that or not, I don't even care. But I do care about the fact that if Cedar Creek were blocked off to build a lake, that's wrong. I think it's wrong to stick a plug in the dam to make the lake as well. Let the water flow naturally. And, you know, the thing is too, one other issue on that is my neighbors, who have mortgages on their property, unfortunately, I don't. They receive letters from their mortgage companies that you have to now acquire flood insurance for your buildings because the DNR and Land and Water Management for Ozaukee County did some aerial footage and views and remapped their system showing where the 100-year floodplain would lie. And our houses, little touch of mine is in it, and other houses there, they're all out of that 100-year floodplain. However, they had to acquire to hold on to their loans and their mortgages, like insurance at the cost of an additional $700 to $1,200 a year as well. Again, that matter wouldn't exist, I don't believe, if the dam were not there. So out of respect to them and other neighbors, you know, and one thing I would say to your committee as well is you may want to consider, maybe the attorney would know if there would be legal action taken for the people to the north, that river is plugged up again and nobody maintains that dam and it is not open during heavy rainfall. Grounds for a big lawsuit. I really believe that. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Goldcombs and Thomas Mark Roush. On deck.
I'm Carol responsible for 1316 13th Avenue, Grafton. And I the dam.
Could you give the mic towards your mouth? Thank you.
Is that better? Yes. Okay. I am for keeping the dam. I'm historically, I've been in Grafton over 35 years. And historically, I think it's beautiful. I'm not looking to, how should I say, I understand the concerns of some of the other people further upstream, but right now, you know, they're talking about what the dam will, if it would be taken out, the river will go down and everything's gonna be natural. But I can tell you right now, with that dam the way it is, I've talked to fishermen, and they said when they were fishing, they have waders on and it's up to their hips. Now that they're going, they're just over their ankles. And really, the fish, if that creek freezes, all those fish will be dead this winter. I like the historical aspect of it. I think it's a beautiful dam. I do understand some of the concerns, but I think it's been there many years, and I truly believe that the fix for that dam is not as expensive as it would be to take out that dam and having to dredge the river and having a swamp. You're gonna have a marsh instead of a river. That's my feeling. Thank you.
I have Thomas Roush. No?
It's not.
Okay, thank you.
The last speaker was Carol, who was close, and that she is my wife. And we have talked about this issue many times. She's been in the Grafton 35 years. I've been here about the same amount of time. I was drawn to Grafton by places like Limekiln Park and the dam for that matter. And saw it as very much an attraction to Grafton. I've had many relatives, friends, and whatever visit us. And here again, we're on 13th, 16th, 13th Avenue, so we see the dam daily from our house. And I do believe that it is a very much a positive influence on Grafton. I know the concerns, I'm hearing them. I was in the environmental field and I worked for an engineering crew or company that worked on river issues, and I understand them, but I say again, it's a great attraction, Grafton. Without it, I think it's going to be a negative effect on the area. The fish also is going to affect the fish. You know, it's going to take time for the river to adapt, if it does, to the place where fish are safely being able to survive. So once again, I am for keeping the dam in place, and I think a lot of issues are being, and I don't mean to offend anybody, being blown a little bit out of proportion about what the river is going to turn into and how it's going to more positively influence Grafton. I think the dam influences Grafton and its views for people that come into the area. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I have Zach Yashuk next, and then on deck is Reese Hanson. And Zach, I'm gonna need an address from you, please.
So Reese is, he's the gentleman who, offered to pay for the repairs to the dam. But he contacted our company to get the repairs to them. I mean, I'll try to keep this brief. I try to change jot down. You know, the concerns are like in the dam.
I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time. Can you guys hear me pretty clearly?
If you say your name and your address and speak into the mic, don't be afraid to get right back.
So I'm on Milwaukee resident, much better, 4220 West Lake Avenue. And I do want to note that when we first were initially based out of Wausau, Wisconsin, we did look at purchasing a shop in Grafton, Wisconsin. That address was 429th Avenue. Just the seller decided to keep the factory. So Reese reached out to me about 4 days ago in questions with how to repair the dam, if I would be able to help him with that. I run a heavy demolition and excavation company. We specifically work with municipalities. So we've done large school projects. We did the Germantown Municipal Center. I also worked for a large heavy civil contractor that did repair dams for many years. So one of the responses that I had heard was the maintenance and concerns of the concrete of the dam. And that was one of the things that we constantly worked on at that heavy civil contractor. And although they are an expense, that expense is substantially lower than anything you guys are gonna see from removing the dam. Which if that did go up to public bid, that would be something my company would most certainly bid on. One of the other comments I heard was hydraulic oil. So when you guys do remove the dam, that's not done magically. That has machines in the river to remove that dam. There's no way to do that without putting hydraulic equipment into the river. And no matter what measures are in place to protect the wildlife, there is alterations to it. And I don't know, it's posted right on the dam. When Reese reached out to me, I walked around the pond. It was built in 1918. There's no legacy of any of the wildlife in this area. I'm not a wildlife expert, but from my view is that there's no wildlife in this area that knows what that area is like without that dam. So I think that's something to consider. That would be quite an adjustment period for any wildlife. And although I am for keeping this one in this area, I do have other areas. We're doing a development on the Milwaukee River at 1120 East King Place. We've redeveloped about 350 feet of river frontage that we rip wrapped and protect, and it had quite extensive erosion control problems. My company has also donated extensively to the Milwaukee River Revitalization Project. And so the dam just north of us there, I was very, very glad they took that one. So I think in some scenarios, it is very good for the wildlife. I think in other areas, it may be more impactful. One of the comments I heard was dams breaking. Most dams break due to the abutments that they tie into, whether it's earth or whatnot. This dam is positioned on slate rock. This is a very sound dam. When concrete is constantly poured over by water, it continues to harden much longer than standard concrete. So when you remove this type of concrete, it's much, much harder because that concrete gets so hard from the years of the water going. So the cost of repairing is going to be substantially lower than the cost of removal for that dam. I do the lady over here, she spoke about the history. I do agree very much that this city, when I come here, it very much fits the history, the vibe that I get from this township. It's kind of like this town's little legacy. And although I've heard back and forth on the deer of the lamprey beetle, there's other invasive species that the Great Lakes have been subjected to in my brief lifetime here. What would my grandkids say if I take away their ability to mitigate that? This is a tool, this is an asset that you guys could use, your kids and your grandkids could use if utilized right. If the issue is the fish traveling up and down river, there's a dam in between this river and the Great Lakes. That dam has a fish ladder. Maybe you guys investigate into that, but then that's a different issue than removing it. You don't want to remove an asset that we can use to mitigate potential threats that we have in the future. And I don't know what that threat might be. All I know is that whatever decision you guys do make, I would hope that you would think about the children that have to make those decisions later. We do something that would make sure we don't tools from them. And when we refer to grants or we refer to how to pay for these things, one of the first things I learned in college in economics is the term tin snoffle. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So whether we pay for it or Washington pays for it, it is going to be paid for by us. So we should not just throw caution to the wind with how we pay for things. When I hear issues to flooding, this is a topic that's all over the world about how dams work. They should be working proportionately to the amount of water that is coming down the river. So that is, I have not done any extensive studies, but there definitely are measures that you can do to meet those concerns and still have the dam. I think your first step would be to address Mr. Reese, who is willing to pay for the dam to get the cylinder fixed. You should investigate that so you can have a properly working dam. And then once your dam is properly working, you can explore avenues and how to meet the needs of all these individual people that have come up here and voiced their concerns. And one thing I have noticed extensively is I understand science may say one thing. People are a part of the ecosystem. People are a part of nature. It's not separate. We're all in this together. And whenever I've heard the people that are older than myself speak, that spend the time there with the local fishermen, they talk about how good the fishing was with it there. I'm not from here. I was there limitedly. The one thing I noticed and I photographed while I was reviewing the dam, I noticed that you guys have a large turtle population in this mill pond. There are a lot of turtles there. Those turtles are not used to that dam gate being open because they're all washing out of there and they're not able to stay up there. So if you remove the dam, wildlife that has adapted to that being there now has no home. So I think that's something we should consider. And again, I'm not opposed to all dams coming in or all dams coming out. From what I've observed, this area seems to be very well suited to having a dam in there. And with Mr. Reese willing to hire my company, I don't see the cost that there would be any cost to the village of Grafton. So that is a professional input. And I think that can be done without putting any hydraulic oil into the river. It sounds like you guys have someone who is very knowledgeable in your town. We're fully insured and we do municipal projects significantly larger than this one. So I would like to see that you guys would keep this dam and you would hear out the resident that is willing to pay for this. and then consider how to address the concerns of all the people who are opposed to it and still coexist with the wildlife the way that you guys have been for the last 100 and some odd years. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks for your comment.
Marie McFall, followed by Mike Gerber. And this is Zach, and you were speaking for Reese Hampton, correct?
No, I'm speaking for Reese Hampton.
Okay, you're speaking for
I'm Reese Hampton.
I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, there's a little confusion on
Okay, I understand. Hi. My name is Reese Hampton. From New Hampton, and I live on the Milwaukee River for 32 years. It's beautiful. I love this town. I love the mill. I worked in 25 years in the Grafton Mill. I saw geese popping right there. I saw everything worked just fine. The ecosystem was great. This is just, it's absurd that we're talking about this town. I made you an offer 2 weeks ago, and not one of you called me. Not one. So I don't know what to say here. I think this guy's talking about lawsuits to this town. I can guarantee you one. If you don't threaten us, make your life hell. I'm gonna save this dam because I want to, because I care about it, and I care about the mill pond, and I was out there canvassing and talking to people. And 90% of them love the dam. One out of 10 did not want to talk because they just didn't want to hear about it. 2 out of 10 didn't want to sign something they didn't know what they were signing. You have got to put this to a referendum. Because if you don't, you're gonna alienate everybody. I suggest this. We come together. We fix this gate and we throw a big party. We throw a party. We get some guys. You take the credit for it. And I'll put you in convertibles to drive down that parade. Let's get this on with this. Let's fix this thing. It's not worth it to mess with it. Sediment analysis, you know what the updates that you could do to keep that thing, you know, how do we know it's in the water there or something? Maybe you could be storing a whole shitload of crap. I will meet with you and I'll make a deal. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Marie McFall, followed by Mike Gerber.
Well, that's a tough thing to follow. Good evening, everybody. My name is Marie McFall, and I've lived in Grafton for 30 years. I live at 1104 Sunset Court, and no, I do not live on the river. I live a few doors down. When the citizens of Grafton went to the ballot box, we put our faith and trust in you. We believed we were voting for leaders who would fight and win for the people. We expected our board members to respect our wishes, listen to our input, and act with transparency. Most of all, we trusted you. We trusted you to put the best interests of this community first, ahead of personal agendas, prejudices, and power grabs. We elected you to represent our collective voice based on what we have told you we want, not what you assume is best for us. The people of Grafton have spoken with overwhelming clarity. We want our historic dam repaired. And we want our mill pond back. Delaying this repair any further or leaning towards removing the dam entirely completely ignores the clear mandate of the voters who put you in office. Tonight, I am asking you to honor your promise to this community. Be a champion for the people of Grafton. Vote yes for an immediate fix to the gate so we can restore the mill pond and bring back our vibrant riverfront. Let us leave here tonight knowing that the leaders we elected did the right thing for the community they serve. Thank you.
Before you get your, Casey Didier, Mike, name and address, please.
You are, oh, it's my phone. Mike Berber, 952 14th Ave. I want to thank all of you for your service to Grafton. I understand that being government employees can be a burden at times like these. But you need to understand that you are here to make the best decision possible for your constituents. The vast majority of whom want Mill Pond to be a pond again. I want to ask a quick question. Have any of you either donated to, worked for, or had any connections to Milwaukee River Keepers? Since it seems you brought them in to give their opinion, and they have had multiple posts on social media. I want to make sure there's no conflict of interest. None of you? Okay, well, judging by their posts and their op-eds, they want the Milwaukee River to become Milwaukee Creek. They championed removing the dam by Estabrook for North Avenue, Milwaukee, and that river is a fraction of what it was. You should go see it. Some will say the dam wasn't there 100 years ago, remove it. Well, none of us were here, obviously. We live in the now. We don't need to go back 100 years because it has become a landmark now. For those saying it's green and lush now, not a mud pit, once winter comes and kills the weeds, it will be an ugly mud pit again. Grafton is a beautiful place to live, but the park has become an eyesore. This river is about 12 to 20 inches deep right now. I've lost almost 4 feet of water in front of my property. The pooping geese, they're still there, by the way. I watched as many as 30 geese by the river, including multiple baby geese. There is no kayaking. I tried to put my paddle board in, but the fin under the board hits the rocks underneath it because it's so low. I can verify the fishing was great. Now the most you catch is little tiny fish because it is so shallow. Kayakers would fish in front of our property all the time last year because it was one of the deeper parts of the river. Now no one bothers to fish there. The ice skating rink in winter will be the size of my living room. Kayak rental launch is in the mud right now. Those are all revenue streams to Grafton that will be lost. The boat launch across from Veterans Park is at least 30 feet from the water now, so good luck launching a boat to enjoy the river. Good luck extending an asphalt launch. Can you imagine the cost and the DNR permitting you would need to put asphalt into the river that far? I feel for the people who fear flooding, but building next to a river in a floodplain is risky. Flood insurance is required in a floodplain always. I worked in the insurance repair industry, and it is unfortunately a must, even if you're 100 feet from the river. If you're in the floodplain, you're in the floodplain. Do what we elected you to do and fix the dam and restore the crown jewel of Grafton, please, and thank you.
Casey Didier, name and address, please.
My name is Casey Didier. I live at 1063 13th Avenue. My front view is east facing. I face Mill Pond Park. I've lived intermittently in my house since 1986. My husband and I repurchased it. Sorry for village board members, giving some community members some backlog here. I've enjoyed the river as a resident, a child, an adult, a parent. I love everything about the Mill Pond. I always have. And right now, I see something different that is also beautiful. I've counted dozens of cranes, handheld cranes. Yesterday I saw a bald eagle. I saw a red-tailed carp or red-tailed hawk almost dropped a carp on car on a bridge, which was kind of cool. But anyway, those are just things that have happened since the dam has been out. And one other thing that hasn't happened since the dam has been out, that only started happening after 2014 when the dam went in, is our house hasn't flooded this year. Our house flooded catastrophically in 8 inches or more rains in an hour in 2018 and again in 2025. Last year we had 6 inches of sewage because the river is getting into the sewers. So that's what brings me here. If we fix the dam, we have to address the sewers first. Because even if we fix our houses, which I appreciate you all actually listening, and I was at these meetings, and I know that this board has done their due diligence, and I appreciate being heard. That said, this problem is not going away. Somewhere, the river is getting into the sewers. And it might not be my house next time, but it might be one of yours. And it's disgusting. If you actually want to come over and see what happened, the way 13th Avenue, it goes to a low section. There's plenty of opportunity. There's 5 manhole covers right there for the water to drain into a system where it's not supposed to go. It's happened twice. It has never happened. Again, I was affiliated with my house. I moved in with my mom and stepdad in 1986. I bought this house in 2008 because I knew it never had water. I do not live in a floodplain. I do not want sewage in my house again. And if it means that it will not happen, right now, our rain is freely flowing, no problems. We would need 30 inches for this to happen, and it won't. So until we address what happens with the sewers, I implore you, please don't fix this dam until we know what is happening with our sewers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, Tony Sprayley. And then, Beth Sprayley.
Tony Scranton, 1118 Riverview Court. Thank you all for your time, really appreciate it. I emailed everybody and had several responses. Appreciate that. Thank you for your time. I was going for a walk on May 2nd and at 5:59, I noticed that the gate was broke, so I called the non-emergency sheriff's department. That's how they were aware of this, of the video of it. We've been here for 22 years. We are at Boston Veterans Park. And this is why Steve loves it. His land was at least quadrupled. And then I'm on the east side looking west. We don't care for it. It sounds personal, but I've had the misfortune to deal with my backyard. However, I've had the great fortune to meet hundreds of people that want us to decide for there to be a referendum where people aren't making the decision for them, where the people and the trustees are not giving their opinion to them. We appreciate any transparency, but obviously that's already been dealt with as opposed to having any transparency. Everybody that came up and spoke of things being natural, lightning is natural and trees are natural. So when lightning hits a tree and it goes into the road, we naturally get it out of there. Okay, so for the gentleman whose house was there for 75 years, you knew the dam was there. The last time we did this, there was no gate. Now there's a gate. That's less volume to back up to flood anybody's house. So that should be a logical thinking process of being grateful to have the gate there. When you had said we did a good job of fixing the gate, President Delore, you said we did a great job saving the dam, but you didn't save anything for maintaining it. We will cover the cost. So that removes that. I knew that on day one, that wasn't a factor.
So there you go, and costs, we'll take care of it. We shouldn't have to, but we will. So that's not an issue. The fact that all the domiciles, all the people that I meet and talk to, this dam was here already. If you buy your house and there's an airport there, you expect some noise. When you buy your house and you have a mill pond in your backyard, your value goes down. I've had many realtors tell me this. I'm not into real estate. And then you say, Julie, to address your question, if we have a gate letting the water down and we move a huge volume, yeah, this would be a little creek when we get done, if that would be the case. This isn't, you could get this in your fourth grade math class. So that's why I'm really kind of frustrated. As far as someone seeing birds in that, they've been here for 2 years and they make up any story they want. And then that's your opinion, as you like to say. That's your opinion. I've got facts with videotapes. I've got bald eagles that fly in our backyard. So I just don't understand where people are arguing this is natural and that's natural. Because if you're at 30,000 feet going 500 miles an hour in a plane, we're gonna call that natural. Because that was there before we were here. And we moved to Grafton and we love Grafton because we have the mill pond, because we have the dam. We would greatly appreciate some transparency. We voted for you. I've got people door to door. 80–90% of people way out by Shady Hollow that have nothing to do with this. People from Cedarburg and Belgium, all over the place telling me, what happened to your mill pond? This looks disgusting. And it's okay, you're not paying for it. As far as maintenance, President Delory, you said this to us, you didn't plan for maintenance. You're the village president, wouldn't that be your job? The plan, you got elected? I would think that would be your job. If I'm pulling down 200,000 a year, I didn't allocate enough money for a tube of toothpaste next week. You're not paying for any of this. We'd like some transparency. You're about as transparent as a lead line brick wall. There are several things I'd like to say. However, at the end of the day, it does seem to be an opinion. I was asked what the functionality of, before even June, because this happened in May. I was asked what the functionality of the dam was. It's aesthetics. That's what it is right now. Any migratory birds, any fish have never lived a life without that dam there. So why are we arguing stuff like that? This is natural, that's natural. Think about it. This is an opinion. This is aesthetics. I like this, you like that. It's not a huge argument when you get down to it. It's your opinion, as you so often like to tell people. Thank you.
That's brilliant. You're good? Okay, thank you. Art Scottberg, followed by Andrew Schwartz.
Good evening, I'm Art Scottberg at 9009 7th Avenue. I'm also a recent resident. We moved here about 4.5 years ago by choice because we fell in love with Grafton. And I want to thank all of you because 40 years in church leadership, I can tell you being in that seat is not an easy place. So thank you very much. I have no idea about the politics of anything and been paying attention to other things. All I can tell you is that the first thing we saw when we came over to Village in January, 4.5 years ago, were the children skating on the pond, and I thought I'd driven into a Courier and Ives print. And I know that's aesthetics, and I know there's science involved here. By the way, with respect to everyone who has spoken tonight, and I mean that sincerely, I'm not a scientist, okay, I'm just a resident. We bought a house that was existing, so we didn't take up any extra land. We fell in love with the community. We work hard in the community through our church and through my occupation to try and make things better. And I'm grateful for that opportunity. And I know there's a lot of opinion floating around here. And I was gonna not speak, but then I thought with the amount of tax money that I've paid since I've lived here, I'm gonna take my opportunity. Especially since it went up $1,000 in 1 year, but that's about what I'm here to complain about. It's okay to tax me, especially if you fix some of the roads a little bit, but anyway, that's not it. The point is, since we're all giving opinions tonight, and I mean this with respect to everyone. The gentleman from Milwaukee has made the most sense to me. And I do believe that the community was built around the dam and the pond. If we were that concerned about nature and things that are natural and preserving the natural, I gotta question the building permits for the hundreds and hundreds of multifamily apartment buildings around the world. I don't mean it for any other reason than to say if we're gonna be concerned about the natural, we have to be concerned about all of the natural. The community was built around a dam, a mill pond, if you want to call it that. There's the saying where I came from, and the other gentleman alluded to it, you can't move into the next to the airport and complain about the noise. Just, you can't do that. So, and I feel bad for anybody with water issues. It can be awful. But, for my wife and I can speak for her, our opinion is, please, fix the dam. Fix the dam.
Thank you for your time.
Andrew Schwartz, 1128 Sunset Court. At what cost? That's really the question before the village board today. The liability cost. The dam gate failed in early May, exposing the river bottom and sediments previously covered by the river and mill pond. People have been accessing these areas since the gate has been opened. What chemicals or heavy metals are they exposed to in these areas? Has any testing been done? The DNR has issued an advisory not to eat carp taken from the river between the Grafton Dam and Estabrook Falls. Carp spend their lifetime at the bottom of the river, eating plants and debris they find. Because of their habits, they collect chemicals and heavy metals in their flesh and fat. Where could those have come from? Certainly some have come from above the Grafton Dam. Did we spend any money to test for any of those chemicals? What is the cost of liability from this inaction? Unfortunately, someday, as a result of a lawsuit, we may find that out. The dam removal cost. The Milwaukee Riverkeeper Organization, among others, would request that the board consider removing the dam to restore the river to its natural state at the cost. Will the Milwaukee Riverkeeper pick up the tab and remove the dam at a cost of more than $1 million? Surely, the DNR will contribute. Read any newspaper that covers the DNR. They're cutting programs, people, and positions in an attempt to balance their budget. That leaves the taxpayers of Grafton on the hook for the bill. Well, I'm still not sure what to do. Let's commission a study. At what cost? $30,000, $50,000, $100,000? After the taxpayers of Grafton pay for a study, we still have a dam, broken gate, exposed mud flats, and liability. but we have less money to fix what we decide to do. That leaves fixing the gate at a cost of $180,000, which seems to me a very high estimate. It might be the most cost-effective solution, considering all the other variables. So village board, consider the costs. Take decisive action this evening. Direct the DPW to raise the gate and lock it in place. Direct the Board of Public Works to get 3 competitive bids to restore the operation of the gate. Restore the charm of the mill pond and its benefits for citizens, businesses, and visitors. This is the most cost-effective thing to do. Thank you.
Laura Lowe.
Hi, my name is Laura Loke and I live at 556 Woodridge Drive, a couple blocks away from the river. I've been a resident of Grafton for several years now, and my husband grew up here and has lived here for most of his life. See, I support looking at studying the dam removal would be the best option. I have a degree in wildlife and biology from UW Stevens Point. And from an ecological perspective, I generally support removal of dams. It generally is better for the natural cycle of rivers and wildlife to do that. Of course, as others have mentioned, studying it before we jump into it is always a good idea. I think the failure of the dam this spring is a good opportunity to learn. I work as an environmental educator. I think this is a great opportunity. I appreciate that you have all have noticed that instead of jumping into doing something just because it's always been that way, as far as we've known, looking at other options. I think that's, and I invite, if you have any other questions from my background as a wildlife biologist, feel free to ask.
Thank you. All right, we're about an hour and a half in. Does the board need a break here? If, can we take maybe a 5-minute break here, and then we'll come back. We're about halfway through the people who signed up to speak. So take about a 5-minute break. We'll be back here at about 20:30.
What's that? I'm not studying. That's like changing basis of the.
No, no, it's stretch the leg. Yeah. All right, great. See you.
Yeah.
Over here. Trying to get the meetings started, getting here, all right, we're gonna get started here. Well, no, we got part of that. Jeff, Keenan, done that one part. But on the south part. Right, Michelle. Through the firewall. Jeff Keenan, was that your name? Did your address, please?
Yes, Jeff Decadent, 298 West Maple Street, here in the wonderful village of Grafton. I'd like to thank you for letting me speak. I am originally from Sheboygan. My story starts with, I met my wife-to-be who lived in Grafton. We had our first date at the Milwaukee Ale House. Babbitt was the ale house. Not knowing Grafton at all. After we had a little dinner and got to know each other, the first thing she did was took me and showed me the dam. And all the lights that turned different colors. I thought it was amazing. Being from Sheboygan, we have the Pigeon River, which isn't nowhere like the Milwaukee River. After dating for 3 years, we got engaged. I bent down on one knee right in front of the dam by the circle, the first place she took me, and that's where we got engaged. Anyhow, enough about my personal life. I'm a big kayaker over the last 4 or 5 years. We do the Mel's Charity River Run, which is kind of ran by Kurt from Forward Outdoors. He's a big outfitting guy out of Milwaukee, promotes kayaking, but whatnot else. But like this year, you took over the River Run part of it. Mel's River Run does the 13-mile run from Wabadonia Park to Vets Park, or if you want a slower run, it goes from Ehlers Park in Saukville to Vets Park. We average 50 to 60 kayakers. It used to always be at the end of April. Well, some Saturdays were cool weather-wise. This year, we moved it to May, and it happened, I believe, we had it the weekend after the dam failed. Now, we were all a little worried Cause after doing this for a couple of years, you do get to kind of know the river. It's been up, it's been down, it's been windy. Anyhow, we did get it in this year. A couple shallow spots, but again, I've done this 5, 6 times. We got through it. Getting on at Vets Park, we had a hose out there for us to rinse our kayaks off. They get the mud off the bottom. Well, again, this is a big fundraiser for Mel's Charities. I think most of us here know Mel and what he does for our community. So this is his first big event of the year. So ever since then, I've just seen the river go down, 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 down. And on Kurt's schedule, forwardoutdoors.com, he years prior had runs and he'd always take turns in different segments of the river, anywhere from West Bend. Lately, it's just been from Wabadonia Park to Vets Park, and then it goes past the dam because I think it's a little shallower on Lime Kiln, and it goes all the way to Milwaukee. Well, now our section from Wabadonia Park to Grafton, and from there to Garrison's Glen is no longer kayakable. So his only 2 runs are from, which is on his list, he keeps again going to different spots, are from Garrison's Glen to Thiensville. Thiensville, the river opens up and gets pretty wide where there's like pontoon boats coming up, which you usually don't see, up further upstream where we are. So kayaking, yeah, this year it's been nothing around here. It's too shallow. Years before, there were like the railroad tracks back further, go through, that's about the lowest spot of the river. And sometimes, yeah, we had to pick up when the water is 4 inches deep and get past it. Overall, it's a fun trip. If anyone kayaks, canoes, being on the Milwaukee River is so quiet and peaceful. Seeing turtles on all the stumps sunning themselves on a day, seeing nature, seeing fish, you name it, you see it all. Anyhow, until I'm obviously for fixing the gate to promote kayaking and fishing in this wonderful village we had. What if we did a fundraiser or something? In Sheboygan, we always did brat fries for fundraisers. If anyone knows Sheboygan and brats, what if we got together at some park and cooked out some brats and maybe try to raise some money for this thing? See who's gonna show up. I mean, what could it hurt? Oh, gas is much easier. Anyhow, I just would like to, again, I've been in Grafton since 2017. Wife and I have sold I sold my house in Sheboygan, she sold her house in Grafton. We bought our next house in Grafton. We love kayaking, we love the Milwaukee River. I would really like it if we could fix the gate. Thank you for your time.
Michelle Borchert, followed by Mike Bubbles.
I live at 1238 4th Avenue, so obviously nowhere near the river. Many of the people here today do live near the river, but I definitely have an opinion on this, so I wanted to share it today. I'm a 25-year resident who moved here for great schools, and I stayed because of the great quality of life that Grafton offers me and my husband. I frequently walk within the village, and through the park into the dam is a common path for me, and it's not fun the way it looks now. If something major breaks at my house, I get multiple quotes to fix whatever that. I go to experts. I want to make sure that that quote is going to be a reliable company. I want to make sure that the work is done right. And I believe that that's what this group should be doing as well. When village-owned equipment breaks, I don't think you just go with one quote or you don't fix it at all. You fix it, but you get the quotes first. So I do believe that the village should also not be considering dam removal or any alternatives other than fixing the gate without a vote of the people of Grafton. And that would include transparency on the cost of those items.
Thank you. Let's follow by Rich Wesson.
Mike Gulitz, 1655 Falls Road. I graduated here in '01, grew up walking the river, fishing the river. I'm just a dad with 2 kids, my beautiful little girl. She actually made the front cover of the press with fishing. So that was pretty cool. So that's why you gotta fish the dam. And I've heard this, and it just comes to me like everybody that's lived here a long time and sees and kind of is part of the community, they want to fix it. People that have just moved here recently have all these great ideas. But they say trust the science, but last week the science put the 5th Amendment, so that's all I want.
Les Bloom, you're up and down for the Rich.
I am Richard Wesson. I live at 2191 Sentinel Street. All the people talked about what the costs are right now. I want to know what are the costs 50 years from now, 100 years from now? And we may not be here, but our children, our grandchildren might be here, so it's going to affect them. The one cost that hasn't been talked about is if you take the dam down, what happens to the phosphorus level in the water? Right now, we spend a lot of money at the wastewater plant to make sure our phosphorus levels are at a certain level for the Milwaukee River. We're paying farmers upstream from us to be able to allow to put certain amounts of phosphorus into the water. And that may come down if the river is allowed to flow. The phosphorus levels in the river may come down. And that's something that I think needs to be studied. And I know Village works with John Butts quite a bit. He spent a lot of money with this company to study phosphorus removal at the treatment plant and keeping the levels down. What are the costs of those in the next 50, 100 years? That's all I really have to say. I'm not either for or removing it at this point. That's why I came here to hear what people had to say and reasons behind it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. After Les Suhas.
Good evening. My name is Les Bloom. I live at 1108 Sunset Court, Grafton, Wisconsin. I've been a member of the Village Public Works Board for the last 13 years. Prior to retirement from work, I was in charge of a regional office for Opus Corporation, a national design build contractor and developer. I was a licensed real estate broker and a registered professional engineer. I have a few points I would like to make after reading the Public Works Director's report. I thought the report was to be a comprehensive study looking at all alternatives regarding the dam and Mill Pond. There was nothing done regarding dredging, environmental cost, what the cost would be for grants available, permitting timeline on dredging. Nothing. Throughout the director's report, she referred to dams as high-risk dam. Julie, thank you for correcting that. We are not a high-risk dam, we're a significant dam. Dams are rated in 3 categories. There's high risk, significant, and low. We're at a significant level. And the only reason we're there is because if the dam went down, we could possibly get 2 feet of water in the mill below it. Otherwise, and we have a redundant dam. So we could possibly be a low risk dam if it wasn't for the flooding here. In regards to the redundant system to raise the gate, in case of another hydraulic failure, it could be as simple as a mechanical chain winch that could cost a lot less than $500,000 in the report. Also, in regard to the automated dam gate control system for $1 million, I question why we would consider this when it was not needed as part of the original gate installation. Last time the dam removal issue came up, the village assessor said the river property values would be decreased if the dam was removed. This will have a ripple effect, decreasing the values throughout the village. Last, I would like to suggest that an expedited bidding process to be used to get competitive bids to fix the gate and provide a redundant method to lift the gate in case of another failure. We just recently had a dam inspection, and the last item in the dam inspection report was fix the gate immediately. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Aaron, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Sue Haas, 1226 Water Terrace. And frankly, I didn't know where I was gonna start because I wrote this book with Aaron, okay? We never thought we were gonna have to go through this again. It is called Saving a Dam in the Heart of a Community, and it's all in here what we did last time. And I hate to have to do this again to this community. But here, yeah, should I start reading it? But I won't, okay, so I'm trying to figure out what should I talk about? First of all, I want to just make sure that everyone knows the village acquired this dam in 1961. So we have been maintaining and preserving it since then. And why did we decide to take it? For two reasons: aesthetics and history. Because that's what it afforded this community. So that was the first purpose, and that was the new function in 1961. Okay, don't forget that. Okay, now, what am I going to talk about? Okay, as a retired engineer, 30 years automotive, chief engineer, went to UW-Madison, BSME, went to Thunderbird Management. Okay, what am I going to talk about? First of all, I'm very disturbed at the diagnosis and the lack of repair, just from an engineering standpoint. Why hasn't the gate been repaired? It failed on May 2nd. That's a simple maintenance question. Why wasn't the normal maintenance contractor who installed the gate in 2014 contacted immediately? Get down here, they're in Marshfield. Get down here and fix this. We always use them. Okay, stop construction. Oh, it hasn't been contacted. Why hasn't the gate been manually closed? We know how to do that. Get a chain, hook it up, and then all of a sudden we got the milk pond back. Why is all this stuff happening? Why are they ignoring the Board of Public Works? We're not going to go to the Board of Public Works. Why is this happening? Well, and the other thing that's really bothering me is, why haven't the citizens of Grafton been given any compelling justification for this divisive activity that has destroyed Grafton's unique feature? None, zero. And why is the only alternative being studied? Just let's remove the dam. What are the alternatives? So, okay, I'm sitting back and thinking about that, and all of the dam removals we went to and documented in this book, and what the people, we interviewed the people, what they were told, and what they thought after the dam was removed. They were horrified. Okay, so what I decided, everyone here should know what the playbook is to remove a dam, because it's a consistent series of steps. Number one, have or create a condition where the dam has to be repaired and drain the mill pond. Over and over again. Okay, normalize that and promote the new look, because we like this look. We don't want to repair it, so drag it out as long as you can. Then claim the river will flow better and cleaner, and fishing will be better. Then number 4, create excessive cost estimates to repair the dam. Oh, we can't possibly do this. Then claim there's no money. And obviously your taxes are gonna have to go up. That's the playbook. Okay, now what happens then? Well, withhold information, withhold the alternatives from the citizens, and start using scare tactics until the citizens get fearful and relent, and then take that dam down. So that is what happens over and over and over again, and that Estork Dam was a debacle. Go down to that Flats Pavilion, it is horrible. We took pictures 16 years ago, and you could see the water used to come up to the pavilion stairs. Do you know what's there now? Trees, nothing. You can't even see the river from that Flats Pavilion, and that's exactly what's happening to our pavilion right now, that we just spent 1.75 million to make. We look out at the water and you go, what water? Same as the Flats Pavilion. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that outsiders tend to scream the loudest on this topic. But the Grafton community wants both the tranquil waters of the mill pond and a free-flowing river south of the dam. And I love looking at those little kindergartners holding each other's hands, coming down the hill from the school and going to the dam on their school outing. It is the cutest little thing. I also love to see the wedding and prom pictures being taken on the observation deck and the waterfall in the background. It's amazing. And seeing the kids fishing around the base of the dam, they're not on their phones. It's great. Love it. So this to me is the feeling and the character of Grafton. That's what we need to preserve. And by the way, Cheer Factory Lincoln, it's okay. Those are fine. Take them down. Not this one. This one is special to our history and our whole human environment here, and the businesses and everybody that put their life, into the area. I just request that the board put this sad chapter behind us and do the right thing for the Grafton community. And please motion to fix the gate immediately and shut down any discussion about removing this dam again.
Thank you, Sue. Aaron, you're up next, followed by Bill Potts.
Hello, I'm Erin Bloom, 1108 Sunset Court. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. I have to say, we are on the river now, but when we moved here to Grafton over 50 years ago, we were in a smaller house. I'm sorry, I didn't have enough water. Not on the river. Why did we move here? We were in Minneapolis, we were driving around Milwaukee, came to Grafton, went over the Highway 60 bridge, and there was the dam and the mill pond. And I know it's not a lake, it's a pond, and I know why it was created, but it's there. Anyway, that's why we moved here. I was looking forward to using the river for children activities. And so was my husband. So now that was my extra thing. I had to give a background. But my other part of my background is
I am a part of a grassroots group, Save the Dam Association. The way I see it, Milwaukee River Keepers is a grassroots group formed into a non-profit business. They are a business, not a government agency. Thank goodness for their concern for their cleanup events. They say they are science-based. They monitor rivers by taking water samples and sending those samples to the Wisconsin State Laboratory of Hygiene. But they come into a community like a snowplow, pushing their other agenda to remove dams for free-flowing rivers. But rivers cannot free flow, as there are new issues that didn't exist 250 years ago. Misinformation planted verbally and in local papers spreads. I'm sorry, I have to get myself together. According to government agencies, the WDNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife, this 17-foot tall dam is the first complete barrier to non-native aquatic invasive species on the Milwaukee River. It is officially classified barrier dam. It is towering and stable, protecting more than 80 miles of upstream habitat and fisheries from invasive species. In fact, something else you may not have ever heard, anybody. In fact, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Environmental Protection Agency, and DNR use and build physical and electric barriers for invasive species that have come on ships and in other ways into our systems. So Jessica Barber, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, stated, it's in our book, the entire river system could require pesticide treatments every 3 to 4 years at an estimated cost of over $300,000 per treatment. Preserving this structure means protecting the ecological health of waterways far beyond Grafton. She also stated that they and the Great Lakes Fishery Commission are against removal of our dam. There are official letters from them to support this. This hasn't come up yet until me, I believe. The DNR required us to install a hydraulic gate for flood control while insisting the dam remain. This May, when the piston failed, the gate became inoperable. The Public Works Director hired an engineering firm to inspect. They said, fix the gate immediately. Their figure to fix the gate is high. We are still stalled. The bidding process for lower bids has not happened. Repairing the gate and dredging will improve water quality and habitats. We have been seeing eagles and cranes and hawks for years now, going over the river and over our house and over Grafton homes. This is nothing new. What we haven't seen are the aquatic mammals that are coming up into our yard. And if you can believe, I've seen 2 minks, and I'm not even out there looking, and other animals coming up that are used to being in the river, looking for new homes. They'll probably die if we don't get that up. So, Grafton, spend your money in the right place. Pursue bids and apply for grants that do exist to keep a dam for the purpose it now has. Only one more sentence. Well, maybe two. If gone, it will never be rebuilt as great as it is. Why would you go against U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the DNR? Repairing the gate is an investment in environmental stewardship and the future of Grafton. Act promptly, repair the gate, preserve the dam for the next 250 years and beyond. Thank you.
After Bill speaks here, we'll go to Lisa Kincaid.
Bill, 1226 Water Terrace. I've been in direct contact with both the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Department and the Wisconsin DNR Aquatics Invasive Species Department for the past few months. Both have stated that the tall Bridge Street Dam is a barrier to invasive sea lamprey. As such, this dam can prevent sea lamprey from reaching its prime breeding grounds upstream, preventing the watershed from contributing to increases in this fish-killing invasive population in the Great Lakes. If the dam were not in place, U.S. Fish and Wildlife has stated that if the sea lamprey shows up in the Milwaukee River, lampricide treatments would be required every 3 to 4 years, now at a cost of $1 million per treatment. That is per U.S. Fish and Wildlife. $1 million per treatment every 3 to 4 years if the sea lamprey shows up. Their position is that physical barriers are much more efficient to use than expensive lampricide treatments, obviously. In the RFC for this meeting, there was a statement that the dam structure allows lamprey to scale the dam walls. There's no proof that the sea lamprey can successfully scale the tall structure of the Bridge Street Dam. Today, I received a message from U.S. Fish and Wildlife that the dam, as is with the gate closed, is a reliable barrier to sea lamprey. I also want to point out that as of midweek last week, neither the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Department or the Wisconsin DNR Aquatic Invasive Species Department have been contacted by the village to discuss concerns about sea lamprey. Bottom line is, the dam should stay to assure it's there, should be needed, to protect the Great Lakes from sea lamprey. Another item I wanted to talk about, somebody mentioned flooding upstream. We do have a floodgate on the dam since 2014. It does relieve flood levels in the Mill Pond area. However, the 2024 FEMA flood insurance rate map put many homes into the floodplain improperly, as the study of the river did not take into account the changes made to the dam in the 2014, widening it and adding a floodgate that lowered the 100-year flood elevation by 2 feet. Correcting this error is possible by requesting FEMA amend their map. The village needs to get this done to relieve this burden placed on homes and businesses. Thank you.
Lisa Kincaid, followed by Lisa Fairchild.
Hi, thank you very much for having me tonight. I've been a resident and property owner in Grafton for about a year now, and I've learned a lot about the history of this dam thanks to my great neighbors and who have lived here for many years. I've also done some homework on my own, and I don't like what I've learned about what happens if you remove the dam. This river and the dam is such a huge attraction and a big reason why I moved here in the first place. It's so beautiful. I know you guys have heard some of these things before, but I really do feel like it's worth reiterating. If the dam is removed, we will go from nearly a 300-foot wide river to a measly 60-foot wide trickle of a stream. It is bad enough that all of the local businesses who provided canoeing and kayaking over the summer couldn't operate in the river this summer. Removing the dam will all but shut down that area of their business, which is just not right. Keeping the dam will bring back all of the people we missed this summer who have used the observation deck and the river as their backdrop for important life memories and photos, for graduations, new babies, weddings, engagements, prom photos, and family pictures. Keeping the dam also ensures those invasive species will stay away. Plus, by repairing the dam, we will continue to support our local businesses who rely on the river's view, like the restaurants and event spaces. And we will continue to celebrate all of the different holidays with colored lights shining on the waterfall. I especially love the red lights to celebrate National Firefighters Month. When I saw that, I knew I'd moved to the right place. Please do the right thing and please fix the dam. Thank you.
William Rice, you're up after Ms. Harbeck.
Lisa Harbeck, 907 17th Avenue. In my 16 years on the village board, I am proud to say that we never put off something so important as this repair of the hydraulic cylinder on the gate of the Bridge Street Dam. There have been many emergencies, unplanned and unbudgeted, repairs of village equipment, infrastructure, and historical landmarks in Grafton. The emergency masonry repair on the line kilns last year for $95,000. The new roof for the Zahn Pavilion. The new pavilion in Veterans Park. Multiple repairs and replacements for the Aquatic Center. Unplanned sewer and water repairs that also forced additional road work. Emergency repairs to the wooden historical building. I could go on. Unplanned emergency repairs are part of everyday village life and we fix them. The budget and general fund are fluid and money is available depending on what is needed during the year. This is basic to village operations. You have all been part of this, with the board voting to approve $90,000 for earlier upgrades to the police department. To only have a single bid for the hydraulic repair to the gate is embarrassing. To delay seeking competitive bids for another 2 months is dysfunctional. Those of you who are new to the board may not know that under these circumstances, at least 3 competitive bids need to be solicited. So we don't get stuck with the single highball bid that we have to the detriment of our taxpayers. We should have started that process long ago. But the repeated requests by many to start obtaining additional quotes have fallen on deaf ears. Citizens comment to me every day and roll their eyes at the single bid. They are also distraught about the wasteland created by the delay and the prospect that people in our village government are considering removing the dam. We've always had a line item in the budget for dams and bridges. If insufficient, that's on our past Director of Public Works and our past village administrator. We have plenty of money for this repair, both in the general fund and the unassigned fund. The bottom line here is that gate needs to be fixed. And please stop talking about removing the dam. We need to put this embarrassing situation behind us. Thank you.
After Chief Emeritus Rice, we'll have Jane Volk.
Hello, my name is William or Bill Rice. I live at 809 North Sparrow Way in the Village of Grafton. I was a village employee for many years. I will, in respect to the length of the evening and the spirit of everyone in the community getting to say what they want to say, I've heard a few things that I won't repeat, starting with Ms. Haas. Once you got going, you really hit on a lot of things that you said. Were like on my mind moment. Ms. Bloom, I've never met before, but I agree with many of the things that she said. And then, of course, Lisa Harvick right now. And the other person was the one that identified the firefighter memorial lighting. Shout out to her. Always respect the fire department. So what I was thinking is I'm sitting here and thinking about the past, the present, and the future. 2 things from the past. One is I voted on this once before. I voted on it, and here potentially
we're discussing all this again. I think this has been discussed in this community, and I think a lot of people in the community are frustrated that Sunday's before us again, when it's a piece of equipment that is broken. The other thing is that I participated, shortly after I became the fire chief, I participated in a community-wide, or not community-wide, but the staff in the village and some other interested parties worked with another community in the Madison area, Wanakee, where we looked at each other's communities and we shared with each other what we thought were valuable. And without question, the response of that meeting, and I feel like it carried some weight, was to work with our area that we're talking about right now, the Mill Pond area, Highway 60. It really the gateway to our community. There was a lot of discussion, we spent a lot of time, and then in the past, we spent a lot of money down there. We have sidewalks, we have businesses that invested a lot of money. We have people that have moved here, we have people who've gotten married down there. We've just invested so much in that area. The thought that we would allow ourselves to lose all of that over a cylinder that may or may not even be, no one really knows what's wrong with this cylinder. I know a lot about cylinders. I'm not an engineer like some of these people have spoken to you, but in my line of business, we use cylinders. We use them all the time. So they are fixable, and if you can't fix them, you can repair them. And they're made to be replaced and fixed. Currently, it's been touched on here briefly, so I won't go into great detail, but I think the village staff and the village board have realized that the way this was handled is an embarrassment to our village. So I'm not. It's been a lesson to everyone, the people standing or sitting behind me, we couldn't do anything about it. Except maybe people would go on Facebook and make comments against some guy named Joe Smith that has no way to track him down or figure out who he is. He's probably from China. I don't know. But we couldn't do anything about it. And as we waited and waited, it embarrassed us. As our friends, relatives come into Grafton to visit, they come to my house. This is no exaggeration. People constantly asking me, what the heck happened to your river? What's going on down there? It looks awful. This, I think, in hindsight, it's a good lesson on when problems are in front of you, you know it's a problem, you have to deal with them quickly. And as we move forward as a village and we have bigger challenges ahead of us in the years ahead, let's remember back to how poorly we handled this. This is not acceptable. We are the laughing stock of many, many people with the big mud flat down there. Last thing I want to talk about is the future. Two things. If we let the river run, as was stated, I think by Ms. Haas, we know what it's going to look like. If you saw any images of like what Cedarburg might look like that AI created, it's not going to look like that. There won't be beautiful flowers and birds flying from flower to flower. It's going to look like Ms. Haas said. It's going to look like the Blatz Pavilion at Lincoln Park. Blatz is right. A place I'm very familiar with. Spent a lot of time there when I was younger. It looks awful. It looks like an abandoned city. I don't think vast majority of the people sitting behind me want our village to look like an abandoned city. You look at Blatz Pavilion, you know what ours is going to look like. It's not going to be pretty flowers, I guarantee it. And the last thing I would ask is, another thing we learned from this is when we move forward, we plan on this in the future. What are we going to do each year? I've noticed over the last few years, we don't trim the trees back along the river anymore. We don't do certain things that I was noticing just crossing over it every day. So whether it's improving the site that we've paid millions of dollars for, or whether it's dredging or whatever it might be, those are things we should be looking into, paying a little money for now, to have a plan moving forward that we know each year. In 5 years from now, we might do X. 15 years from now, we might do Y. Let's have a plan. Let's learn from this and have a good plan moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie Bull, followed by Michael Platt.
Jane Polk, 972 14th Avenue in Grafton. I am one of this, a similar story that I was drawn to this community because of the river. I had previously lived in the town of Grafton on the river as well, but in an area south of here, it really wasn't accessible. So for years, I kind of watched the market, and when I found a place that I could come and live to enjoy the Veterans Park and the mill pond and the beautiful bridge, and I can sit in my kayak and listen to the bands playing up at the Veterans Park Pavilion, I bought it because it was what was so important to me. And I know that's a personal experience, and there's so many people here who have a personal and passionate reason for wanting the bridge, the gate fixed. And there's people who sound passionate about why they don't want it fixed, but I think the overwhelming majority say we treasure this part of our community. It's drawn us here. We want to live here. Other people want to visit us. My friends want to come kayaking with me. I've been kayaking this stretch of the river for 15 years, and I've watched the changes in it over time. Right now, I got my kayak. I managed to step through the muck and get into my kayak on July 6th. That was the only day. I saw no other people enjoying the river. I saw much fewer wildlife, fewer birds, and no fish, minnows and guppies. I always have watched that as I paddle all the way down as far as I can past the interurban bike trail. So I feel like even though I'm not an environmental scientist, I'm not an engineer. I've been studying this river for years and years, and my photo albums on my phone show that. If I could show you right now the difference between what it looked like a year ago and what it looks like now, my kayak with me, and I'm not very big, was bottoming out. I was getting stuck on floating piles of weeds and algae and sediment. It's unfortunate that when we have such a treasure in our community, that we're not investing in it daily to make it the best it can be. I know that dams can be controversial, that there are things that wouldn't be considered environmentally aware, but this is our state of nature now, is having this dam here. And for me, I see a lack of wildlife. I now can no longer get to the edge of my river. Everything that I have carefully removed, all the buckthorn and invasive species, it's all grown up so much with the cut grass that there's no way I can get to the river, and neither can anybody else. I used to see every single day people out there fishing. I would see people on kayaks, stand-up paddle boards. I see none of that now. This wonderful resource that we have in our beautiful community is no longer of value to people. It's not bringing people in. People see the mud and they complain. What's wrong with your river? Where are you going to go kayaking? You can't kayak anymore. So I think that anything we have takes investment. I was hoping that tonight, while I really appreciate public comments, and I've learned a lot from the people here who have much greater knowledge about things like this than I do, for sure, I've learned. But I was hoping to hear more studies. I was hoping that the board would be bringing more information back to us. And I really hope that that will happen. I found something on the website as I was sitting in the audience. It looks like that proposal said that repair would be about $180,000. To study the removal of the dam would be $200,000. Annual maintenance of the mechanics in the dam would be about $4,000. And removal altogether of the dam would be $2 million. I say that's a no-brainer. Let's invest in our community. Let's plan for our future. And not only repair the gate in the dam, but have a long-term plan. We need to have that mill pond dredged. We need to make sure we're maintaining this community's valuable resources. That means when there's storms and there's logs floating in the river, we need to have people monitoring that and helping to clean it up. fix the dam, maintain that valuable resource that our community enjoys so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Paul Malloy, you're on deck.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Michael Platt. I live at 2296 in North Green Bay. Issue I have is this happened once before in 2010, and I'm a little disheartened as to why there was no plan put in place for maintenance of this dam. And now I don't hear any numbers. I heard no numbers at the start of this with the slideshow. And I hear from other people up here that the repair is $180,000 and it hasn't been done in 4 months. There's a problem. I also don't understand, we have a Department of Public Works. If they're not capable of fixing something like this, you should get people in hired. One of the things I didn't say, so I've been here for 22 years already on the river. I've seen drastic changes. There's the DNR, I don't understand why they're not here or involved. Why did the Army Corps of Engineers is not involved? This is not my first time dealing with water situations in a previous community. All of these people were involved in order to just do something on a creek. And we're talking a river. It's unbelievable. I didn't pay for the property I have to be on a silt pond. I don't know what else to say. I just would like to thank you for letting me speak. And I think that the dam should be repaired and it should have been done already.
No, you might move your own deck.
Hi, my name is Paul Malloy, 1703 10th Avenue, Grafton. I've got many years, 35 years of experience in the hydraulic industry. And when the hydraulic center gate failed, I attended a village meeting to offer my help. After reviewing the quote provided to the village, I was shocked. Not only was there only one quote, it had no diagnosis exactly of why the system failed. Only a big quote to rebuild, replace the cylinder. In hydraulics, the most commonly found fault is a bad valve, not the cylinder. Which, if it is a valve, that's a fraction of the cost of the cylinder. Diagnosis needs to be done. I sent an email, which I'll submit right here, and asked in person at meetings, did we get a quote from the original installer of the gate Stout? Has that been done, Dan? Julie, have you contacted the people who installed the gate to get a quote from them to fix it? Well, whoever installed the gate, it would be the people that called to fix it. Sorry. She said no. She said no. All right, she did not contact the company that installed the gate to get a quote from them. Did you contact any other companies in the hydraulic industry in the last, what do we have, 2 months to get another quote?
I contacted J.F. Brennan, their marine contractor who then got the system, the hydraulic systems engineer on board. And then when the village board voted to wait and not appropriate the funding at this time, I have not called anybody yet in this world.
Why not?
I just told you why.
It's broken. There's a piece of the town that's broken. You get a bid for 180 grand. And you just sit with that, and that's why you're putting all these people through this. That's wrong. That's totally wrong. That shouldn't be happening. It looks less like a repair process and more like a political hijack. It appears the gate repair is being intentionally stalled and pushed a personal agenda forward for our dam. Furthermore, I've heard that the village trustees are now restricted from communicating directly with the Department of Public Works. All routine inquiries must go through the village president now. This lack of transparency and restriction of oversight prevents the board from exercising its proper duties and must be stopped. There's no reason that any of you should not be able to talk to the DPW. By blocking getting expert diagnostics, multiple bids, and not having the DPW seek multiple quotes immediately, the village president and the Department of Public Works are failing this community. This is not leadership, it's an abuse of power. By not getting these diagnostics, the village president is acting more like a dictator than a public servant. The taxpayers own the dam, the taxpayers own the gate, and the taxpayers own Mill Pond Park. Stop the misconduct, follow proper procedures, and get the gate fixed now.
Shelley Martin.
And then, Nick Hathaway.
Hello, I'm Shelley Martins. I live at W3140 Center Street. I'm not up here to attack any of you. And one of the things I wasn't going to say, but after listening to people, I'm just going to bring up that I've heard people offer to pay for dam repairs.
I'm sorry, I'm really having a hard time. You're gonna have to speak.
Okay, did you catch my name, address? Okay, so some things I wasn't going to say, I'm bringing up from what I've heard people say. So I've heard people say they'd offer to pay the dam to be removed. So maybe I should offer to have the scale, no, they're gonna pay to keep the dam. I apologize. Maybe I should offer to have to pay to have the dam removed. So at least the scale is even. It's not tipped one way or another. And then if the dam had been removed in the first place, nobody would be faced with this again. And somebody will be faced with the dam problem again in the future because it's a man-made structure. That was not part of my speech, but that all came to mind from hearing all these people. I just want to say that I'm a homeowner in Watercup. And we had a dam on the Milwaukee River that has been removed. So I know individuals and friends of mine know individuals as well that have lived on a former mill pond, similar to the mill pond in Grafton. So all I have are some questions for you. I don't expect you to give me answers. These are just questions for you to think about. After dam removal and site restorations of those areas where a dam has been removed in the past, do you know of anyone that wanted the dam put back? There are 2 downstream dams in Grafton that have been removed from the Milwaukee River. So in those areas, my second question is, do you know of any home values that have been decreased because of the dam's removal? The residents in the areas where dams have been removed now live near running water with motion. They hear ripples and sounds as the water cascades over the rocks. Looking online at photos from 1917 and 1918, when the dam was being built for a mill, there existed a beautiful 4-foot waterfalls behind the current dam. There is no longer a mill, so no longer a need for a dam. Don't make the residents of Grafton pay for upkeep and monitoring or repair to something that no longer serves the purpose. There is no mill. Nature has always proven its ability to heal itself, and humans, only through their attempt to control nature, mess things up. Thank you for your time and attention.
Howard Malloy is on deck.
Good evening, my name is Nick Havlick, 911 17th Avenue, Grafton.
And I say that proudly because it's been a great village to raise our 2 children for the last 5 years. Standing here just 3 months after the Grafton Dam failure, I have to say I'm genuinely impressed by one thing. We've found an issue that actually unites us. Mega supporters and Democratic loyalists are standing shoulder to shoulder for a single purpose. The shining star of our downtown and village. Going door to door to talk with constituents about the dam, the message I've heard is unmistakable. The residents of our village want the dam fixed. Local businesses and residents made their voices heard back in 2010. And 16 years later, that resolve is stronger than ever. Don't let outside voices drown out what our own community is asking for. This isn't a partisan money issue, it's a Grafton issue. Fix the dam. Thank you.
Rich Ryan, is on deck.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Howard Malloy, 1110 Riverview Court. I'd like to tell you a little short story. 49 years ago, our family, my parents, wanted to move to Grafton. They were searching many homes in Grafton. They were then very happy to find a lot on the Milwaukee River. Not just on the Milwaukee River, but on Mill Pond. And they built their home. They loved that home. They've lived there for the last 48 years and a month. They are so grateful. Our whole family is grateful. We utilize that river, we recreated on that river, and we always enjoyed the cranes and the hawks and the other wildlife that have been there for so many decades. My parents now are 93 and 88 years old. They still are able to enjoy that river. Mom is having some memory issues. And she keeps asking, what happened to the river? And Mom is changing. I don't like it. So it's valuable, it's historic, and it is loved. When talking about the previous dams that were taken down, I wonder, was it as drastic a change as this is? I'm just wondering. I have a question too. Does anybody know what's wrong with the gate?
Good question.
I'm asking the board members. Does anybody know what's wrong with the gate? After 3 months, nobody knows what's wrong with the gate. I think there's something wrong with that. People talk about preferences. I understand that. I'm not going to reiterate those. One point that I didn't hear yet was what happens to the assets, what happens to people's assets. We've heard some talk about the problems when somebody floods and they're losing some of their appliances and so on like that. With this, the river is not as pleasant. It is not as pleasing. It is not as valuable. So what happens to all those homes on the river and their values, their assets going down because of this drastic change in the river? There was a referendum. This whole thing went through about 16 years ago. Save the dam. 75% of the village voted that they want the dam saved. Does anybody really think that's changed a whole lot since then? Please fix the dam. It is valuable.
Bill Parbeck on deck.
Rich Reinking, 1715 Willow Lane. round the corner with John McGivern, Grafton, episode 2017. How many in this room remember that episode from 9 years ago? Does everybody remember how that episode started? It starts out with the history. And I remember John Gerda saying, John, it had started right here in Grafton because of the 10-foot drop in the water. That's where they built the dam in order to do the industry which built Grafton about 100 years ago. And we're going to just throw that away. If we're going to throw that away, then we should throw away the sidewalk that runs along the river. We should throw away the Lime Kill Park as well. All of it needs to go if that's what you want to do. As far as I'm concerned, save the dam. And I still remember right towards the end of that episode, John McGivern would say to the village president, he would say, you got 30 seconds to tell us why Grafton is a great place to work, live, and play. How would we answer that? Especially when the mill pond is completely gone. I don't think anybody from that camera crew would even think of trying to film in that area right now. Thank you.
Bill Harbeck, 907 17th Avenue, village resident. People probably looked at me and saw what I was carrying under and said, wow, that's a long speech. We're never going to get out of here tonight. But for everyone's benefit, this is not a speech. These are not my words. These are the words in the voice of the residents and the people at Grafton. These are signature pages from a petition that was circulated in the last 2 weeks. And the purpose of the petition is that dam is so important to our village residents that if there's going to be any of our taxpayer money spent or any steps taken towards removal of the dam, that needs to go to the village residents for a vote. This was signed by over 1,600 people, and we did it in 2 weeks. Unbelievable result. But, you know, it wasn't as hard as we thought it might be because everybody that we spoke to, with rare exception, was what's going on down there? Yes, this decision is so important. It needs to be made by the residents, not by a simple majority of the board. It takes 4 votes out of 7. And who knows if some or one of the people on the board have a hidden agenda here. Nor does this decision need to be made by outsiders like the Milwaukee River Keeper or the Milwaukee River Alliance. This dam is our dam. It's not their dam. And this mill pond is our mill pond, not their mill pond. Virtually every person that our group approached, and they're from all walks of life. They don't live on the river, some do, some don't. They live in all of the wards throughout Grafton, all income levels, all political parties. They were all absolutely, this makes sense. This is so important. We should vote on that if you're going to take that kind of action. And so it was 1,670 signatures, and it took 2 weeks. Under the statute, we had 60 days to gather these. Just imagine what we could come with if we did this in 60 days. I want to just talk about briefly a couple things that some of the people brought up. One of the gentlemen spoke earlier about, well,
you know, the DNR or the Fish and Wildlife is gonna be up assessing what's the area above the dam again. They're not up here assessing whether it's a barrier dam or not. That's a fact. That's established. They're up there again to see whether or not the spawning is as fertile as it was, and there's no reason to believe it wasn't, but if a village, if we're talking about taking down a dam, that's something they need to do. What are we exposing this again to? But the fact that it's a barrier dam is not in dispute. And he also said, well, there's no sea lamprey in the Milwaukee River right now, so don't worry about it. Not today. What about tomorrow? What about next year? What about 5 years from now? Our obligation doesn't run through what's in there today. It's a terrible problem in Lake Michigan, and we are our dam is one of the solutions to that. Another fact that has not been brought up at this point so far is after the referendum, overwhelming majority of the residents said the dam. The village put about $1.5 million, if not more, into improving the dam and making the upgrades. 12 to 13 years ago. All that taxpayer money goes down the drain. How is that fiscally responsible? How is that being a steward of our tax dollars? It's not. I volunteer at Riverside events for a couple of the Riverside events that are very important that bring people downtown. The last several events I've been down there and people are aghast at what it looks like. They are, what is going on? What used to be a Norman Rockwell setting now looks like a setting out of Mad Max. It's an abhorrent, it never should have happened. Finally, with respect to the quotes, when the first quote came out, many people have come to village board meetings and public works meetings and said, why aren't you getting more quotes? And they pleaded for our leadership to get more quotes and to allow more quotes. It went to deaf ears. So now here we are 3 months after the gate failed. And we don't have any other quotes other than the one highball quote. And I'll give you one little example about why that quote is ridiculous. The price for the cylinder in that quote, new cylinder, is $90,000 out of the $180,000. Corey Shabasta went out, got the exact same specs, knows exactly the amount, he priced it. It's $35,000 for the piece. That's a $55,000 cost excessiveness over the original quote. That's why you get more quotes. You don't rely on quotes. And we should have been doing that. Now here we are 3 months later, and we're sitting on our hands not getting more quotes. So I'll wrap up with when many of you, if not all of you, when you ran for office, you said, I want to do this because I want to do some good for the community. Well, here's your chance to do exactly that. The people are watching. Please fix the gate now. And don't ever talk about removing the dam again. Thank you.
Jonathan, and we'll follow with Larry. Hey, I believe Keith did.
Hi guys. I'm not too good at this. I don't carry myself. Oh yeah, Jonathan Rodemaker.
Jonathan, can we slow down for a second? That name and just name and address, please.
1701 10th Avenue.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm not too good at this. I don't carry myself well. I am an industrial mechanic though, so I heard something. I had a couple of points to make, but my ears did peak a little bit. Is it true that you guys did not actually troubleshoot the actuator for the valve on the dam and just went ahead and decided to say it was the valve? Because we run into that a lot. I worked with Union Mechanic, we made 4.6 million cans of empty cans every 24 hours to help feed the country. So we worked with a lot of presses. That's just a really weird thing to hear, that nobody checked the actuator that would actually close and open the valve. So I am kind of curious about that. No answer. Okay, anyway, we'll continue. Beyond that, guys, nice to meet you. I'm John.
Sure.
You guys seem really nice and such, but
Mr. Rademacher, you have to address the board, please.
okay, addressing the board. Really nice to meet you guys. Me and my girlfriend Tammy have lived here a couple of years. She's back there. I think she's filming here right now. We've never done anything like this, but I don't know. One of the things that hit me when I moved to Grafton was passing over the bridge, and you see Veterans Park, and you see a cannon, and I'm sure like some of the veterans probably love to see the cannon, you know, if you're the one pulling the trigger on it, but some of the frontline guys might never want to see one again in their lives, you know? But one thing that made it unique was that body of water. And I thought it was very fitting that in Veterans Park, there was a body of water where someone in a wheelchair could hop into a kayak and launch off and see beautiful water turtles and egrets and cranes and herons and everything. And it was like, yeah, like that's what you fought for, was for this nature. And people who argue that like the river ecosystem, you know, fights to exist. Yeah, of course it does. And somebody said humans can only hurt nature or whatever. Like, yeah, that's a given. But what we had in Grafton, yeah, it was a unique system because there were thousands of rivers and streams through Wisconsin. But what we had here was a beautiful community with a unique ecosystem that brought these unique species here beyond what a stream would have ever done. And despite if you're for or against fixing the dam, it has always been a part of this community for the whole time you guys have lived here. Like, if you're against fixing it, you're just guessing at how it's going to change. And I mean, you know, yeah, it might be a little bit more money, but you know, if it's older people, that's like a rug pull on the stock market. You're going to build a beautiful community and then just destroy it for the next generation. Like, Grafton is beautiful. People love Grafton. I've never heard of anybody who does not love Grafton. And it is loved because it is the community it is. And we need to protect it. Like, people will say, like, oh my gosh, it's so terrible. It might be expensive. It's like, what else do we have left? The entire West Coast is on fire. We only have what we can control. And so much is out of our control that we need to step up right now and protect our environment, the one that we have, because that's all we got left. And I'm sorry, I mean, we're climbers, we're rock climbers, we're dirt bags, we sleep in our car, you know, we got a place, but we've driven from the east to the west and everywhere in between, and we still love this town, and we need to take care of it for everybody that lives here, and for all the migratory species, and for everything that we can salvage from nature to make this place beautiful and continue to be beautiful. So please, like, fix the dam. I mean, I'm an industrial mechanic. An expense that costs this much, I wouldn't have even had to talk to my boss about. And I'm just a union mechanic. I made $30 an hour. It's a good gig. If any of you guys are interested in joining the union, please contact me after. But we would not have even had to talk to our boss about this repair. We just say, I need this part. We fix it. It's a couple $100,000. It goes in. We get it working. Everybody eats. It's fine. It's crazy that we are even having to be here right now. Like, just fix our own town. Like, that's not too much to ask.
Larry King. Daniel, Goldenego, did I get that right? You're next in that.
Larry K, 958 14th Avenue. First thing I just want to ask, do you guys all live in Grafton? Everybody? Yeah, okay, I wasn't sure though, so you know what it's like living here, you know, the good points of Canada. You know, compared to Port Washington, which has the port, it's picturesque, and has a little church up on the hill. Cedarburg, which has its nice quaint shopping streets, it has a great restaurants, everything else. Where's Grafton? We have access to the food that they don't have. We have access to the hospital, which is important for all the silver haired people that are on board and in the public, not all of you guys. And the other thing we have is the river. And if you take that, you know, take away, I live on the river, and I gotta say, it's not as ugly as I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse. And at first it was horrible, mud flats. The vegetation that has grown up has replaced the land, and it doesn't look near as bad as I thought it would. But as, you know, I'd like to exonerate you guys for half a second to go back to excoriate you afterwards. The exoneration was this. The 3 bids, as I understand it, that is not a firm rule. If, as I understand it, if something's gonna cost over $50,000, it has to be publicized to accept other bids, but it's not a law that you have to get 3 bids. So you guys didn't do anything wrong there, but how much would it cost to remove the dam? You think somebody said that, but you guys don't. Is that, I don't know that, whereas somebody said that before here.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Specific questions on removing the dam should be answered by our director of public work. And, if she doesn't have an idea, I think we've had some idea on what it would cost us to remove the dam.
It's an estimate of all in studies, approval of other elements that you require.
So we don't know, we have no idea what it will cost to remove it.
Just.
And the estimate is what?
About 2 million.
And who did that estimate come from? What company was it?
We haven't gone out, it was an estimate based on research, just to, how does it consider?
It's a preliminary ballpark estimate.
So it's just kind of a. And what would it cost to fix it? With, I know the 180,000, as I understand it, that was an emergency situation, and so the company responded in that setting. It's like, for an emergency, you gotta pull people off other jobs or whatever, get them down here, put that cylinder in, it's $180,000. There has been no action since then, how much it would cost. Well, as I understand it now, it would cost nothing. I mean, there's a guy with some deep pockets that said that he would pay for everything. There's another guy that's an expert in hydraulics who put a proposal out that you guys should, I hope somebody's gonna read it. I mean, he's offering his services free as well. So, to me, the choice is between spending $2 million to remove the last barrier for 80 miles of waterway for the sea lampreys and other invasive species, and I don't know what upstream communities will think about that. So we could spend $2 million to ruin that, or we could spend nothing to have it fixed. It's like saying, okay, I could either restore your 1957 Thunderbird for free. No thanks, I'd rather, you know. I've got a Toyota Solero from 1991 and it's all right. I'll drag that. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, hopefully, yeah, because the other thing to consider, I mean, you guys probably, I know you have a lot to do and whatnot. Does anybody know how many people are gonna be, how big the population is gonna be growing out the rest of the construction is done? It's in the thousands, surely. So the tax base, you're gonna be taking in more taxes.
We have some work to do here, so, do you have any other questions for us?
Okay, I guess I'm done then, honestly, I thought you said don't worry about that. You have work to do because I'm kind of pulled your nose to the grindstone as far as getting it. Okay, just remember that re-elections will come too. Thank you.
Very good.
Good evening.
Thank you, Dan.
My name is Daniel Zimmerman, resident of 2065 Erie Street in Grafton. My wife and I have been residents here for about 10 years. And we recently this year, probably the worst timing and possibly in history, we purchased a building, 1214 to 1218 South 13th Street, 13th Avenue in Grafton, about 2 weeks plus or minus from the dam broke. So I'm here more from the side of the investor in the town of Grafton. We were really excited to be able to invest in our community and purchase the beautiful building. The business owners in the building, my wife is one of them, and Jen from the Lunar Spa are here tonight. And they had asked me to come with, and after hearing a few of the comments, I decided I'd like to speak as well. Because I think for them, they're concerned. They own businesses on the river with the promise, the brand promise of Grafton was this mill pond. The brand promise when we purchased this building was that we have this beautiful view, and unfortunately that's gone right now. And that's really creating a hardship. I know they're telling me that about 400 people go through their businesses every month, and everybody's asking, when is this pond being restored? And I think they're concerned about the long-term viability of their businesses. And as businesses that are right downtown in the heart of the village, I think that that's something that's maybe a little bit different of a perspective from some of the things you've heard here tonight. People that are concerned about their properties, their personal enjoyment, but without small businesses in the community, I've lived in and seen places where small businesses are driven out by big corporations, and Walmart moves to the town, it's hard for them to survive. And it doesn't have the character, and that is one of the things that why we moved to Grafton originally was that character that it had. It's got a beautiful downtown, and I'd like to see that preserved. And we, like I said, my wife and I invested in the community as a form of helping preserve it. So we would really like to see that mill pond restored and help preserve the value of our investment and in the small businesses that really give life to the community downtown. Thank you very much.
Brad Eagle, followed by Will Watson. Brad Eagle. Will Watson. WAWTYN. Okay, Steve Solomon, Steve.
Steve Solomon, 1127 4th Avenue. Being really honest, I didn't have an opinion one way or another for the last 3 months on whether the dam should be repaired or taken out. I think there's pluses and minuses to both. You take the dam out, you're not only affecting Grafton, you're affecting everybody on that river all the way up to West Bend where the next dam is. I'm an avid kayaker. I've kayaked from West Bend all the way down to Painesville. Okay. I will say, I'm hearing everybody speak. It's obvious the village wants the dam repaired. Okay. I've written 2 letters to the village board, one to the newspaper, asking a couple of questions that I was hoping to get an answer to. I've got a background in engineering, but I was also management and procurement for 30 years. Okay. That gate was never designed as a fish ladder. So why the hell it's 10 foot tall when you only have to open it up a foot or two to let out flood water, which would have been a lot shorter hydraulic ramp and a lot cheaper. That was one question. Number two, obviously it was decided that it wasn't an emergency because it's been 3 months. The village does have a written policy for procurement. Any purchases over $25,000 have to be requested in writing, in public newspapers. The bids have to be opened in public, they have to be sealed bids. That did not happen. Okay? Before my last comment, and I hesitate to say this because it's gonna tell people how old I am. I moved to this village in 1977 when I got out of the service. And I don't know if there's anybody in this room that remembers the water skiing shows that were held down in Millcott Park. Anybody ever? And they ran water skiing shows when they did the July 4th holiday dance or whatever they call it, and they ran around in circles. That boat hated coming down here because of the silt. Now it's worse. 2 years ago, I kayaked in there, and foolish me got out of my kayak down in Mill Pond and stood in the silt. My sandals are still in there because I went out on my knees. Okay. There was a comment made about this brought the village together. Obviously it did. I kind of thought it might have separated it, okay? $180,000 is ridiculous. I did the same thing. Caterpillar quoted me a cost of about $25,000 for a brand new hydraulic cylinder, 50 ton. The village board should be totally embarrassed for not having this thing fixed. We spent 40 here for 2.5 hours. Man hours would have been unbelievable because nobody here would have even really known there was a problem. Gate went down, you did your job, you repaired it, all done, and we'd be happier to help. Thank you.
And that is the end of the folks who have signed up for comment this evening. Anybody else need to speak here that has been listed? I have 2 more people here. I'll take the gentleman in the back and this gentleman lady up front, and then we'll close up the public hearing. So, Paul?
Paul Wargy, 1800 Cedar Street. First of all, thank you for the work that you do. I've sat in the seat similar to yours for 21 years, and I know that these meetings, one of which we had during COVID, of the same date, at this very stage, can be challenging. But I appreciate the time that you're taking to listen to all of the sides of this story and this argument. I just simply want to say that the executive summary of the Village of Grafton's 2035 comprehensive plan highlights 6 elements considered in the development. The last element, bullet 6, simply states to protect Grafton's history and cultural resources. The dam and the mill pond are certainly integral to Grafton's history. Action associated with element 6 moves the plan from history to legacy. Legacy is about the enduring impact and meaning that we leave for the future. I ask that you simply honor element 6 of your comprehensive plan and protect Grafton's history. In doing so, you will enhance our legacy for future generations to come.
Thank you, Paul. If you wouldn't mind, could you please spell your name for me so I can write it down?
Ashley Wesson, ASHLEYWESSON, 2191 Seminole Street. I have lived here my entire life. When I was growing up, I was on Cherokee Street, now I'm on Seminole. And the thing I'm about to say is not going to go over well in this room. That mill pond has been gross my entire life. when I was growing up, I was told, don't go in it, don't go near it, it's gross. And it hasn't gotten any less. When I was in high school, I was part of a venture crew that kayaked that river a lot. And one of the times we got stuck and I had to get out, and similar to the gentleman that talked earlier, I had float up to my house. One of two things needs to happen. If we are going to keep the dam, that area needs to be cleaned up and it needs to have a plan to keep it clean. Or we need to remove the dam. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we have the first and second call here for anybody else who wants to speak. All right, we're going to close the public hearing at this point in time. I'm going to follow the agenda here. So our next step here is the approval of the minutes. And then we will get into a resolution and discuss of the possible action on the bridge. So look for a motion and a second to approve the July 20th, 26th village board meeting and to file the May 12th, 2026 Public Safety Committee, the May 20th, 2026 Park and Rec Board, the June 23rd, 2026 Planning Commission. Motion and second, please.
I'll make the motion.
Motion and second. Any questions on the village board meeting minutes?
Dan, be clear, I couldn't hear who made the motion.
What's that?
We need a motion second, we couldn't hear.
Motion and
Look.
okay, here.
Yeah.
In a motion and second, it was Kevin and it was David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, no corrections to those minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody wish to be heard on an item other than the dam? All right, little humor there, folks. All right, there would be no, the other information here is there's no business to be presented by me outside of this meeting. We will go to the discussion and possible action on the Bridge Street Dam lift gate repair and work exploration of other alternatives related to the Bridge Street Dam. I think we all have the information in front of us and we've heard a lot of comments from folks. So I'm going to start to see, how the trustees feel about this and look to see if we can potentially get a motion on the table to move forward with this, one or the other. So who wants to start here? Russell? Wait, Luke, why don't you start?
I'll go. Thank you everybody for being here. It's great to see the energy, the enthusiasm, democracy is working. I do just want to get right to the point. I want to urge the board to procure additional quotes immediately for the repair of the gate and move us to a competitive bidding process. I say let's get more quotes, let's reconvene as a board, and then let's fix the gate. Let's get our beautiful, historic dam back. Thank you. Okay, no.
Yes, I would like to thank everyone who's been here and spoke. I appreciated every single perspective on this issue. I'd like to say that I ran my campaign on preserving the character of Grafton, and as a small business owner, I feel the duty to speak for both the residents and local businesses. Our downtown businesses, including those who spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on riverfront dining, have suffered declining foot traffic and lost sales over this delay, along with impacted chamber investments from the kayak program. This delay has robbed Grafton of the entire summer on the riverfront. The public sentiment is unequivocal. My internal review of constituent emails, obviously I got a lot today, so it's hard to keep up. As of yesterday, it was 81 individuals urging us to repair, about 90% of whom verified Grafton residents. There were 13 emails supporting removal and for local residents. On top of that, experts from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the WDNR warned that removing our dam, the primary barrier protecting 80+ miles of upstream habitat from invasive sea lamprey could trigger recurring chemical poisoning treatments costing over $300,000 every few years. Fiscal responsibility also demands better due diligence, relying on a single 154,000 to 180,000 estimates falls quite short of standard municipal procedure. Especially when local machining experts, just like a few of you have said, note that the cylinder repairs routinely run under 50,000. We must seek competitive quotes. I agree. That's very important. Including from the original builders, staff. I don't know how to say that. Construction. Funding is not really an issue. Covering routine maintenance is a standard practice. Our unassigned fund balance surplus is well above the state mandated 25% minimum, and a local resident has even offered to fund the repair directly if needed. I took an oath to represent our residents and the businesses. Tonight, we are here to handle a routine maintenance issue. Not to derail this into an unauthorized discussion about dam removal. Therefore, I ask for, I'm hoping to shortly make a motion, but we need to expedite this. This should not take another 90 days to have a decision. We need to make movements here. Thank you.
I'll keep this brief. Thank you for coming. Thank you for staying for the long haul for the meeting. Been here for what, 3.5 hours-ish already. I didn't write a speech. I'll keep it brief. I am all for putting the competitive bids out. Taking a vote on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I've heard each one of you. I've been a resident of Grafton since 1970. My parents moved us out here when I was a kid. I enjoyed the time ice skating on what was Mill Pond Park. So, Steve, I think I'm older than you are. But you know, Grafton is my home. There's a lot of history here. My father was an integral part of moving the steel bridge that's in Limekiln Park. He wanted that bridge saved. But that was part of Grafton's history. He did not want that bridge just torched and just was tortured and put into a scrap pile. And that same bridge is would overlook the dam that is in place right now that we're talking about here tonight. So I fully support fixing the dam and getting competitive bids. Let's get this done quickly.
First and foremost, I would like to thank the Grafton School District for working with the Village of Grafton and allowing us to use this beautiful space for our meetings so that we can hold more residents at our village board meeting. It is so nice to see all of our neighbors out here, and shout out to the people who had to leave or who were here earlier. Thank you for coming out and sharing your opinions, each and every one of them. You should be really proud of yourselves for coming together, because I do agree that this did bring us together. And that's a wonderful thing. So thank you for coming out tonight. I received lots of emails, lots of voicemails, a lot of people at the grocery store, right? Yeah, we're all gonna see each other there tomorrow, so let's be nice. And if I heard from every single person, read them all. If I couldn't get back to you, I apologize, but I guarantee you I read your message. Little public service announcement. What I am about to say are my own thoughts. My thoughts and opinions are my own, okay? I am my own independent person up here on the trustee. There is no one up here that speaks for me but myself. Just like when Mr. Reese Hansen speaks for Mr. Reese Hansen, Sarah Scarpace talks for trustee Sarah Scarpace. Okay, and I just need the residents to understand that I'm not in anybody's pocket up here. I don't report to anybody like that, because that's not how democracy works, right? Okay, we work together. So please remember that my comments are my own. Thank you. Okay, now with that said, the second area of grievances that I have today on our Festivus here in Grafton is the statute of limitations that everybody is bringing up regarding talking about this topic. Yes, I know that we voted on this in 2010. I lived here then. I moved to Grafton in 2006. I grew up in Fort Washington. Okay, so for me, talking about this is not, there's no statute of limitations. Things change. Do you know how many times our school district has had different referendums for things and they have brought people there? Let me tell you a story, neighbor. When I moved to Grafton here, I came here from Fort Washington, and one of the things I loved about our school district was that their 5th grade was at the elementary school, not the middle school like it is in Fort Washington. Okay, I experienced that. So for me as a parent, I made the choice to move to district where 5th grade was at the elementary school. And guess what? Recently, I got outvoted by my neighbors, right? Things change. That happened. But in democracy in America, we don't have a statute of limitations on discussion, cordial discussion and healthy debate. So I don't care if this comes up every 15 years. If you need to put your books in the little new homeowner, welcome to Grafton, here, learn about the dam, go ahead and do that. But other people have different ideas, and we get new people here. And if we have to be in this gym every 15 years to talk, I say we do it because that's what democracy is. Okay? All right. Hold on. I'm not done. Okay. Second on. Oh, by the way, I don't know if anybody knows this in this room. I have a degree in broadcast journalism. Okay. Class of 2005 from UW Milwaukee. Spent 6 years in broadcast television, followed by the newspapers. Okay. I know how to do research. I have conducted all my research for this. I have talked to both sides. And unlike other people in this area, I get 3 reliable sources before I report information. Okay, because that's how it's done. And if you have any issues with that, just know that I'm taking what I've learned in my industry and I'm applying it to this job that you hired me to do for you. Okay. All right. Next up, when it comes to the river, I've heard of some issues. One of the big issues that I've heard of is kayaking. Guess where I was for 2 hours yesterday? Floating down the Milwaukee River on a kayak. It was beautiful. Joan, I got in the water, like at the town of Grafton, Saukville, right at that little launch, and then we came on down here. It was gorgeous. It was great. I never got stuck in the mud. I got all the way there. We get to the ramp, we get to the kayak ramp in Grafton. It is black on the north end from the mud, correct? However, I was able to pull myself up on the kayak ramp there on the south end, okay? So for people that are saying, well, you know, the water has diminished and we can't access the kayak ramp, here's my thing. That's a giant Lego set. If we need to grab a couple of more pieces and stick it out there 10 more feet, we can do that, okay? But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So the concept of like, well, we can't access the kayak, we can fix that. That's a non-issue. We can solve that problem, okay? I have done my research regarding the other surrounding dams, north and south along the Milwaukee River. And my mom lives up in Campbellsport, and they took dams down up in Campbellsport. And guess what they lost up there? A lot of the fishing industry, okay? A lot of the fishing industry. So I would hate to see all of our fishermen, shout out to the dude who brought the pole earlier, right on. I would hate to lose that in our community. So with that, you know, Cedarburg has their dam. I would be very interested to hear what comes out of their study. That's on my notes here as well. Personally, right? I'm gonna look at my coworkers when I say this. We need to focus on figuring out what is going on with the flooding on 13th Avenue. And if we don't help those people out, that's going to be an even bigger embarrassment than what already our voters are saying that we've embarrassed ourselves. So we need to get the little backflow valves in every single house on 13th Street. I want to pay for a study, not for our dam, but how about our lateral lines in the DPW to try to figure out what is causing the catastrophic flooding for those homeowners on 13th Avenue. We have got to fix that now. That's an issue that we shouldn't be sitting on. That's an issue that we shouldn't be sitting on, is fixing that for our residents, okay? Because this is a yes and, this could be a yes and everybody, yes, we can talk about the dam, and we should talk about fixing other secondary issues coming off of it, okay? Let's do some really good work here tonight, okay? Here's the thing. I grew up in Fort. Fort has the lake, right? Fort built the marina to utilize the lake. Cedarburg looks like Norman Rockwell himself threw up on their downtown. It is so beautiful. And yeah, Grafton has the Courier and Ives Mill Pond. It was a beautiful place, and it's the shtick of Grafton, right? Is our mill pond. It does bring tourism to our community. Gallup concerts have been bumping as far as I can tell. I've seen kayakers out there. I don't know when I was out there, I've seen other kayakers out there. I know this brings people to our community. And from what I've heard, everybody who's coming into our community is talking about this, right? So it is bringing people here, whether it's to rubberneck to see how gross it looks, or they're just here to actually enjoy it. Either way, they're here in our community checking it out. With that said, okay, I have plenty of my own independent communication with Julie Ash, our Park and Recs Department leader, Chad Boyer, and any other people in the community that I need to address. There is no one up here stopping me from saying that I cannot talk to Miss Ash or anybody else in any other department. We've been playing phone tag, right? But that's just because I don't mean there. But I have the ability to talk to people at our Department of Public Works, our Park and Rec Department. So I'm not really sure where the rumors are coming. Check your sources. That we are not allowed to talk to people in the village, because I do that all the time. That's how I learn and do my job. I ask the village department heads questions so that I have information that I'm prepared to do my job tonight, okay? So we are utilizing the river, just like Port is utilizing the lake, okay? And yes, at one time, we had a mill that was functioning for a different purpose. And when the mill flipped over in the 60s, right, the purpose went from, when the dam was brought, given to the village of Grafton in the 60s, the purpose of the mill went from production, right, to tourism. And previous residents in this community have built up tourism and functionality around a river. So whether we want to admit it or not, that is what previous residents and previous village boards and our neighbors before us have decided that they wanted this to do, okay? So with that said, it would be a great loss to the history of Grafton if we did not preserve our dam in some way, shape, or form. I am disappointed for the analysis paralysis between our committee here, the work that we're doing here, and then the disconnect from the village. I don't know what's going on with that, but we have to fix that. The other thing too is, I understand that it doesn't look good, but it's not a dire emergency, okay? Rocks falling off of lime kiln, right, when people are at the park, that could be dangerous, okay? But right now, we need to understand as fellow trustees that we have a lot of really good ideas brought to us to the table, and we also have to get back to protocol. We can't just sit here and say that it needs to come back to us as the village board. This should be going back to the Department of Public Works subcommittee so that they can do their job and then bring it to us accordingly. That is the proper way to do this government work. Thank you.
Kevin, I don't know how you're gonna top that one, but I know you're gonna try.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out here, all the messages and emails that I've been receiving. It is great to hear from the community about this at all times. I want to apologize. This feels like we've had a breach of protocol. We have not done this the proper way, of getting these bids in the proper way. We have postponed this for far too long, and it's something that we should have handled earlier. The process that this should have been is gone through the public works to the village board as it normally goes for these kinds of fixes. We did not do our job for it. And I do think that Grafton has had a problem because of that. And because of that, I am going to be pushing for expedited bids rather than just making sure that we bid, rather than just sitting on our hands anymore. Thank you.
Yeah. So, let me notice this, because Sarah made a lot of great points, and everybody out here made some great points, but first of all, thank you for hanging out here with us till, what time is it? 9:30? 9:34. Yeah, 9:34, thank you. Correct that, but again, the whole process of this took place when we noticed there was a problem with the dam. We did the best we could to take action on it and say, we need to get this in front of the village board. And that was the staff's decision to take and get an estimate of repair, to get that to the village board, to see if the village board wanted to take action on one bid. Because it was thought that this might be an emergency. It's not an emergency. I get it. We want the mill pond back. We want it to look like it used to look. We want everything yesterday. Problem is that it's not an emergency. Now, you may disagree with me, but as Sarah said, it's not bricks falling off on kids' head from lime kiln. We saw just recently in Neenah, in Menasha, the terrible tornado that went through. That's the use of the emergency contingency funds. What would happen if our water treatment was knocked out? And we've spent $200,000, give or take, on repairing something that wasn't necessarily a functional emergency. That's why our village board said, we want to get as much information as we can. We want to get options. I don't think, I think people think
One option is not an option. One option is not options.
Wait a second. We gave you all kinds of uninterrupted time. And that's all I'm asking you to do. Are we that much of a community that we can't have time? Put our opinions on there too. Stop. Have your chance to say the opinion. I think I got that right. Everybody else did. So I got the right to make that opinion. I'm a citizen here too. So here's the thing. We made a decision, and now we are at a point where we have a lot of information in front of us. And we're about to make a decision on what we're going to do moving forward. Problem is that I've talked to a lot of engineers. And almost every one of them, the big point is water always wins. It always wins. It finds a way to get through cement. It finds a way to get around cement. And my whole point on all of this has been, if we're gonna fix the dam, more than likely we're going to, I think. The problem is that what are we gonna do about long-term repairs? This last repair is, Mr. Hardwick referred to, is about $1.5 million. It's actually $1.335 million to put that gate in. It lasted us 10 years. Do we not want to look at a potential for a healthy river and a healthy mill pond and a healthy dam as potentially going to get us 25 years or maybe 30 years? That's been my whole point. Get us that information and we'll make a decision on being able to repair the dam. So my point here is that this river is naturally going to go around obstacles. And there are some other issues with our dam, as we found out in the engineering report. There are cracks in the dam. There needs to be some remediation of plants around the dam. I think there's even I saw something about a spigot leak. These things, if we just go ahead and replace that cylinder, those issues still exist. That's all I'm looking for, is a total cost for this. So I know engineers, but I'm not an engineer. We have engineers. We consult with engineers, and that's why I think this needs to go back to the Public Works Committee, where it should have started in the first place. That's what we're just looking at doing here. So my belief is I have no problem coming up with, let's get some bids here. Let's get multiple bids and we'll find out, maybe we can fix this less expensive than the 180. And it saves all of you tax dollars, saves me tax dollars. Instead of going with one bid and fixing it right now because it's all of a sudden the emergency, don't like how it looks. That's just my point. Okay, so with that said, I would look for some bit of an motion here.
I move to make a motion.
Make motion to do what?
My motion is to authorize repairing the Bridge Street Dam lift gate and direct staff to expedite obtaining competitive bids as required by state law.
We have a motion and second. Does anybody wish to make any changes to that or good with moving forward with a vote? Can't, we would have to do a denial. A motion and second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. All right. So we'll be moving on to the next item, which is discussion and approval of grant management policy for site assessment, grant consultation with WPC over fundraising.
It's here, I'm with all the way to Mark.
Okay, David. I see you. All right. Okay, Dave, let's talk a little bit about this. What do you got?
It's off.
All right, folks, if you could kind of be quiet while we get the rest of our business, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Go ahead, Gabe.
All right.